Oh, how's it going, everybody? Hopefully this is working. Hopefully you can hear my voice. Hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear. And if you're looking at a bunch of strange stuff on the screen, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It cannot hurt you. Well, it can. It's definitely hurting my eyeballs. But hey everybody, welcome to the Serfs. I mean the Serfs. The Serfs. Yeah, the Serfs. Hey, I'm Lance. One half of the Serfs here to talk to y'all about the news. The lighting on my screen is making me look a nice shade of tomato right now. So this is beautiful. Let's see what it's like on a big. Oh, hello. Good to see y'all. Hey, everybody. Haven't been on this platform in a while. It's a scary place. There's a lot of scary things in this weird platform. I had to. Sorry, it took so long to set this all up. I had to put in YouTube things and everything because this is, of course, the Serfs, not the Serfs. Hey, everybody, why is this on YouTube? Okay, so this is on YouTube 255 AD because at the moment there's a Twitch blackout in solidarity with the huge amount of sexual harassment going on the platform. So I've left that sexual harassment platform to come on to this sexual harassment platform because I'm pretty sure YouTube is probably rife. Just absolutely rife with horrible, fucking, gross, disgusting things. Where's Dave of the Serfs? Dave is not available at the moment. He is at his other steed. So I'm gonna have to one surf this one for a change. I know normally we always stream in unison. That's not true. It's usually just me. Yeah, it's interesting. It's different, right? It's not as flashy. There's no emotes. It feels a little different. But we're gonna be okay, you know. It's nice to see me streaming on YouTube. It's different. I'll say that much. I'm not used to this. But hey, I'm gonna do all the same things that all y'all know and love. We're gonna be going through all the news of the day. I'm gonna be going through a whole bunch of ghouls. I'm gonna be breaking down Sargon of Akkad, Ben Shapiro. Ooh, I'm gonna be slamming my keyboard. Gonna be going through Jordan Peterson. He's back. He's back in the worst of ways. DLive is the best streaming platform. I don't know, Jijing. It's kind of filled with Nazis. You can apparently. There's a new clip function, but it's in beta mode. So I got to figure out how to beta this. Bring back DLive. We're gonna do movie nights on DLive. I know I keep saying that. I keep promising that. It's gonna happen this weekend. We're gonna have a movie night on DLive because nothing matters on DLive, right? So that'll hopefully be a thing. You can enjoy that. Orange Man Bad versus Chad Tomato Man. I know it's not me. I swear. Well, you know what's funny? I do look rather rosy. I swear it's the screen. It's not my flush. Hey everybody, it's good to see you. What happened to Twitch? So I'm going to be on YouTube today out of solidarity with the protest that's going on with the Twitch Me Too movement. There's a blackout today. To support the overwhelming amount of people who have been sexually harassed, all the way up to molested, all the way up to, content warning, as bad as it gets, to be totally frank, by a whole bunch of big name streamers, a whole bunch of big name brands and shit. It's outrageous. Kenny Frierson, thank you so much for the $1.49 and the hot dog. That's wonderful. I'm not used to this. There wasn't even a pop-up for that, or maybe it will. Maybe it's just delayed. Hopefully it's just delayed. Great First Lawrence Southern is back, and now Jordan B. Peterson. I know. What is this timeline? Like, what timeline are we stuck in? You know, I got to get through both. Vosh is offline. Oh, so I can play Vosh clips. By the way, if you've got some spicy Vosh clip you've always wanted me to see and comment on, I can. Not too long. Obviously, I'd rather just do a quick Vosh. Oh, nice. It did pop up. Cute. Well, I'm glad that's working. Well, thank you. My name is Lance. Who said it was Frank? Oh no, I'm saying I'm being Frank. I think. I don't know. Am I supposed to interact with the chat here? I don't know how YouTube works. Am I supposed to just pretend like y'all aren't there? I can't do that. I'm too beholden to you. Is there any more blackface and chief content to laugh at? There will be. I'm going to be talking a little bit about. I'm going to go through some Canadian news because there's some good and bad Canadian news related to the RCMP, related to the caps. You'll be able to laugh, all that kind of stuff. Vosh just got done debating at Turf. God damn it. He said so many N-words today. Wait, Vosh did? No, he didn't. I don't believe any of you. This y'all be gaslighting me. But hey, I guess is you can play the N-word on YouTube too, right? That's another no on the Twitch. No, don't ignore us. No, I won't. I can't. I can't. This is why you should get a GG. Oh yeah. What is it? White Nervosa reached out to me. I just haven't spoke to White Nervosa since. Who's Kevin? Kevin is who's ever donated the most. Oh, at the bottom. That's who's ever donated the most, I guess. That's the current donator in chief. And Kevin's the only person who's done a super chat for the $1.49. So that's why Kevin's at the bottom. Sorry, I'm learning all these new weird, I don't know, pop-ups and stuff. It's been a while since you streamed on YouTube. It's been so long. I can't even tell you what it's like to change over to the side. I guess there's some new things to check out. What do we got here? We got custom emojis. That's kind of cute. There's a dab looking one. Oh, let's see what this look. Oh, here we go. Here comes the dab. Oh, there's a dab. Look at that. Catching up. Does it pop up on the screen? It doesn't. Oh, it doesn't pop up on the chat on the screen. It just says dab. Okay. Well, that's gonna be a thing. I stopped using Bezos stuff, and Twitch is the hardest to stay away from. Yeah, I know. Twitch is like, not to poo on anyone, YouTube is a way better video platform, obviously, because Twitch isn't really a video platform because they delete all their videos after like 9 months. But it's such a better streaming platform, especially for anyone who's a lefty. If you're a lefty and you like doing things like mutual aid and helping people out, things like raiding into someone else is such a valuable tool to help a smaller streamer out, which I absolutely adore. And you can host streamers. So whenever I'm not streaming, I can highlight smaller streamers as well. Like, I love it. It's like all those tools are so useful. They were supposed to be, they were put in place for gamers to like antagonize each other, but lefties can use it for mutual aid and other shit like that. There's so much lag. Damn. In between when you type something. Am I a Vosh fan? I am. Me and Vosh are friendly. We talk, we hang out. Not in person, of course, because, the plague, but it'll get there. In time, obviously. Well, everybody, any quick questions? Are you two stooges of Jordan Peter Lobster in the animated intro? That's one of them is Tim Pool. He's the one with the beanie, obviously, and I think Steven Crowder is the jester, if I remember, my amazing artist. Mike from PA didn't join Blackout, and that's totally fine. I'm not into. First off, there's anyone who doesn't understand how this works. By the way, if you've been in a workplace and you've tried to unionize, you band together with your fellow employees against your employer. And then what you guys have to do is you basically have to demonstrate to them that you are the ones that create the widgets. You're what's necessary for the business to move forward. It's crucial that you as the employees get respect. All right. I'm not trying to put this down like some kind of vig or something like that, but I'm just saying that there has to be a banding together, a unionization, if you will, at which point you start to protest. There's a picket line. You separate yourselves. And then there's a give and pull. If the boss wants to try and hire outside workers to replace you, them is called the scabs, and so the scabs are filthy terrible. That doesn't apply online to what's happening today. If you can do Blackout, sure. If you don't want to do Blackout, that's also fine. The same thing applied to the YouTube walkout. The same thing applied to all those other things, and I despise when people use those as a stepping stone to shit all over each other. These should be like, if you want to do it, cool. If you don't want to do it, also cool. If you can participate in it, awesome. If you don't, also totally fine, totally valid, because at the end of the day, the left should not be tearing each other apart over this kind of stuff. Truly disappointed with the €2. Damn, I can see euros pop up. That's pretty cool. Henlo, hi, truly disappointed. Thank you so much for the €2. And OAT Poon 1312. Thank you as well for the €2 and the very cute anarchist black and red hearts. Can I just say this quickly to anyone who doesn't know this? I am, because maybe I don't stream enough on here, I myself am a socialist. I want the means of production to be owned by the workers. My best way forward to do that personally is I want to start getting more worker cooperatives popping up, because I feel that it's the best way for people to actually have the means of production within their hands. So that's why I work on that kind of stuff. That being said, if you didn't know this, I'm also very, very friendly to people like SocDems. And I already noticed there's a lot of SocDem hate popping up in the chat, but if you want to win, and I think the left wants to, right? Ultimately, that's what you would all like to do. You'd like to win. You're going to have to align yourself with a whole bunch of people. The left encompasses a sum total of like 1%. I mean the real left. I mean people who want to see in either an end or an evolution to capitalism. That's a very small percentage of Americans, like super teeny, okay? The majority of them have no idea what you're talking about. So if you want to win in the hearts and minds of people and actually progress forward and actually, I don't know, further the cause of the left. Oh, thank you so much for the generous $10. Le Grand Larambe. Sorry. How do I read these? Oh, AWS is like libertarians diving on federal roads. You can be against Amazon, but they are everywhere. True. And sorry, the reason I'm saying all this is that ultimately, yes, I would like the left to win, and that's why I align myself with SocDems, okay? There's no actual political apparatus right now in the United States, such as a figure as large as Bernie Sanders, that you're going to find as a socialist. Yeah, you know, they have to present themselves as democratic socialists. Whether or not they're crypto socialists, I don't know. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But either way, sock Dems are friendly, and I don't see why you should, any of you should hate on them. Okay, have you heard of the Fabian Society? I haven't, Starchild. Let me look that up. Does it have to do with Fabio? I think it's all about Fabio, right? Oh wow, it's an entire society led by Fabio. And he's their leader. This is fucking cool. Oh yeah, I'm down with this. I am down with Fabio. Let's see what this says. And by the way, please, I'm gonna be new at this. I haven't streamed on YouTube in a long time, so if I miss things, if a super chat falls through the cracks or something like that, please let me know. At me and keep saying, hey, by the way, did you do that? Would you ever try to make a streamer YouTuber union, maybe through using something like the IWW? I've been working on that for a while with American Johnson, and we didn't make a lot of headway. I tried to band together with the existing one. I'm part of the actual YouTube union. It started in Germany, but at the same time, it's got a lot of problems. It's got no bargaining power, and it never will. YouTube doesn't need to give them bargaining power because, again, the left encompasses a sum total, I'm guessing, the real left of maybe 2%. Non-scientific, me just throwing numbers out there, maybe 2% on YouTube, if that. Like during the YouTube walkout, we didn't get any of the big ones. Like I think ThoughtSlime was the biggest content creator who did the YouTube walkout. And so even if we had ContraPoints, H-Bomber Guy, Philosophy Tube, Peter Coffin, even if all of them had banded together, Three Arrows, all of them had done the YouTube walkout, and every single lefty had done the YouTube walkout, it wouldn't have even made a dent in YouTube. They're like, there's children who do unboxing videos of like I don't know what you call them in Denmark, but like of toys, of little toys and things, and they have like 5 million subscribers. Last time I saw Tim Pool broadcast live, he had 16,000 live viewers. The right is winning, especially on YouTube. So that's why I think it's totally fine if y'all want to embrace or say sock Dems are your friends, find alliances where you can, strange bedfellows, that's completely fine. But yeah. H-Bomber Guy is on a 24/7 YouTube walkout. Yeah, no shit. No shit. What happened to H-Bomb? Where are you, H-Bomb? Anyways, hey, I'm getting way off base. Let's start with getting some hard. I am very friendly with Sean. I love Sean. We don't talk that much, though. Sean is a very hard person to get a hold of, but when we do, it's always super friendly. You know who I talk to a lot, who I'm extremely fond of in multiple ways? You know, ways that I don't know if I should describe them, but potentially sexually, but like Three Arrows. Dan Three Arrows. He's absolutely fantastic. What an amazing individual. Not only is he eloquent, educated, he knows so much about history, which is kind of like one of my little hobbies. I love learning about history, but it's a pleasure to speak to Dan. Can non-employees unionize? Well, you can. It would be a different thing than unionization, though. You wouldn't be unionizing against your employer, but there is different forms of unions. There's public unions. The worst union, and the union I think any lefty would tell you to shut the fuck down, would be police unions. Fuck police unions. They're garbage. All right, everybody, if this is your first time watching the Serfs live, because you probably don't want to come over to Twitch, and that's fair. Twitch is also where, you know, Jeff Bezos basically cultivates his little army of maggots and gross hybrid children. Sorry, I'm half trying to type in a title. Oh, all right. How this usually goes is I'm going to get through some of the news of the day, and please, if you have headlines, news, stuff you want me to dissect, I, for the first time in a long time, have so much good news today to talk to you about in terms of the left and in terms of electoral politics in the United States. Yesterday was a monstrously huge victory in New York, of all places. The New York primary was fantastic for the left, and as a leftist, trust me, my lifelong sadness with being a leftist is just defeat. defeat and getting destroyed everywhere we go. It's fucking terrible. So let me just say, at the very least, it's fantastic. We have to revel in the fact that we do have sometimes electoral victories, and there was some fantastic electoral victories yesterday. I'm going to get through them, all right? I'm going to get to them. I'm going to talk about the amazing things, such as the fact that AOC, despite the fact that she was up against a deeply entrenched corporate stooge who had so much financial backing, millions and millions of dollars, didn't mean shit. All that money was useless. It was thrown against the wall. That makes me very, very happy. But first, I'm going to get through some news outside of that. Skate Fast, Read Marx with the $5 dono. Thank you. Have you watched the Law of Value video series? How much Marx have you read? And what are your thoughts about Marx's critiques of market socialism? So I have read all 3 volumes of Capital. I have read the small little teeny pamphlet. Some call it the Manifesto. And I've also read Critique of the Gotha Program, as well as a lot of online literature between Engels, Marx correspondence. I do love a lot of Marx and Engels. I'm a bigger fan of Kropotkin, if we're going to be going down this theory road, as well as I think Rosa Luxemburg probably speaks to me more. In terms of my modern day philosophy, though, I'm very closely aligned with Richard Wolff, someone who I've had the pleasure of speaking to in person and interviewing as well. And I usually am finding that he's making the most sense in terms of a practical answer, or at least a practical solution to further these kind of ideas. Because in terms of my lifetime, I don't see us abolishing capitalism, unfortunately. Sorry to break that to anyone here if this is the first time that you're hearing this. I don't see that happening. But I do see us furthering the cause of leftism to a point where we might be able to have our children's children, ideally, if the world isn't a cindering mess, evolve into something better, ideally. I mean, at the end of the day, in my lifetime, I would like every single person to have the means of production, aka let's get worker cooperatives everywhere that they can be put in, which is why, by the way, if you're tuning into this, we do free worker cooperative advertising as well as union advertising. So if you have a union or a worker co-op you want us to promote at the end of our videos, email us and I will do that. All right. Let me get right into this. Your interview with Wolff got me watching a boatload of his stuff. Isn't he fucking good? His podcast is great. He's a little bit extreme, I'll say this, when it comes to history. His podcast on World War II, where he talks about how, I do agree, there's usually 2 choices, right? It's barbarism, aka capitalism, which evolves into fascism, and or socialism is the other alternative. I agree with that pathway, but a lot of how he lines out the evolution into that is a little bit reductive. You should debate Armin Navabi of the Atheist Republic. Check out his last couple of Facebook posts. If someone wants to set that up, I don't have the time anymore to keep reaching out to these people. Like when I debated Count Dankula or Tree of Logic, that was because someone else or they were setting it up, not because I reached out. Like right now, my inbox is it's a mess. It's garbage. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting way off track. Everybody, if you've been watching the news and you've been following Canada a little bit, and I won't bore you, I know sometimes people don't like to hear Canadian history, but Canada has a big problem with the RCMP. Of course, the RCMP being our federal cops program, and I'm sure right now there's a sentiment that cops aren't the best. RoboCop might be an exception, but otherwise everyone's kind of like cops are the baddies, and that is very, very true, right? Charges were dropped against the Alberta First Nations chief, Alan Adam. And by the way, I want to make a correction here, by the way, because I happen to be, my mother is Métis, and there's enough Métis running through my veins that gives me the power to have a BC Métis Federation card, which is pretty damn cool. But I have said before that I lump in sometimes Métis with First Nations. They are separate, and I should be making that distinction, as well as the fact that Aboriginal is a better encompassing term that includes Inuit, First Nations, and Métis peoples of Canada. So I just want to be a little bit clear about that. But if you weren't following this, the Alberta First Nations chief, Alan Adam, was outside of a casino and just got fucking beat the fuck up by the police. It was fucking disgusting. Let's see if there's any footage of that in here. I'm guessing not. Let's see if we can find it somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. Holy shit, this is bad.
Good afternoon. A 12-minute RCMP dashcam video submitted in court yesterday shows much more of what happened between police and an Alberta First Nations chief when he was arrested in March.
And today, lawyers who push for police accountability are calling for immediate action.
I am Robert. Thank you.
Report on that and other high-level reaction in just a moment. But first, that video.
And before we show it to you, we want to warn you it may be disturbing to some viewers. Brianna Carson-Smith begins our coverage.
These are the injuries Athabasca Chippewa First Nation Chief Alan Adams says were caused by RCMP in March. Now, new RCMP dashcam video filed in court Thursday is revealing much more of what happened that night. It begins with an RCMP vehicle parking behind Adam as he walks around a blue truck.
All right, check this out.
Adam twice goes to the officers, telling them to go away.
Going home? Sir, return to your vehicle.
The good news is coming up.
Could you return to your vehicle, sir?
3 minutes in, an officer goes to speak with Adam. The chief comes out of the truck, taking off his jacket. The officer tells Adam to calm down and get back in the truck. When he does, the officer grabs Adam's wife by the arm. The officer inside the cruiser asks if the one interacting with Adam is okay. The Mountie outside responds he is. A minute and a half later, as more police arrive, one officer grabs Adam's arm and appears to be trying to put it behind his back. A second officer runs in, tackling
Big
Adam,
Mad Bad,
punching him,
London.
and putting him in a chokehold. The entire interaction started by questions about an expired license plate.
It shows an unreasonable
About an hold. And appears to be trying to put it behind his back. A second officer runs in, tackling Adam, punching him, and putting him in a chokehold.
So excessive, so unnecessary. And again, this happens to be a chief, which technically is like basically an autonomous nation's leader. So it's kind of like if there was a dignitary from, say, Pakistan who was here and that was how they were treated. That's the way you have to kind of wrap your head around these concepts. I'm Twitch addicted mostly because of the Serfs fully. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doing that. Cedar called out the Hill. Good. Someone should be. I noticed that the Hill today, Crystal released a 17-minute scathing video of Tucker Carlson. I wonder if that has anything to do with you know who. You know who I'm talking about, right? Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Surprise, motherfucker. Free TK, free Palestine. You ain't this shit, TK. What's a few lies and you got bars? I got a hat on right now because my hair looks...
I think it was me or Vosh. Probably Vosh. He's got bigger reach than I do. Probably one of the two. But anyways, this is good news, everybody. Good news, everyone, because at the end of the day, the case against Chief Alan Adam of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nations was in front of a Fort McMurray provincial court judge. All of his charges were dismissed. Thank God. And now let's move on to the next step, aka let's get the police who did this in trouble, as well as let's just defund the RCMP. Now, when I say defund the RCMP, I know a lot of people are like, well, how could you say such things? What would you do without the police? What happens when someone comes calling for you? What you gonna do? You know, Ghostbusters. Who you gonna call? All these very important questions. But when it comes down to it, the police aren't really good at their jobs. They're not really good at solving rape cases. In fact, it's usually between 6 to 9% of all cases brought forward to the RCMP and or the police in general when it relates to rape and or sexual assault are solved. So that's a woefully inadequate amount of, let's just say, closure on these kind of horrific crimes. And that's going to be pertinent for today. So when it comes to committing crimes, the number one thing that is usually something that's going to be causal is poverty. So if we took a lot of the money that we're spending on policing, especially in the United States, I think right now it's what, $110 billion. If we were to take, say, half of that, so we'll defund it by half, and that's, you know, not outrageous, not as far as I want to go, but let's just say, let's propose that. So now we have $50 billion to spend on social housing, to spend on health, to spend on a whole bunch of different social programs, to spend on psychiatric help for those who need it, stuff like that, housing the homeless. That would go a long way to preventing the crimes. And I know this is a little minority report, it's a little bit precog for some people, but that would go a long way to preventing the crimes that are actually causing these things. I think would be very, very beneficial. Just something I'm proposing. I don't think it's outrageous. You know, we need to abolish the RCMP. Butch, I'm with you. You're speaking my language, but I'm just saying, let's what could I propose today that might get some people on board? What if I say I want to shave off 10%? And they're like, well, that's outrageous. Okay, well, let's just start there. We shave off 20%. We take that 20%, we put it into housing. We take that 20%, we put it into social programs. We reap some benefits. We then go forward. And or we just go all the way. I don't know. I'm just saying these are the things that actually work. When you look at the end of the day, what should you be doing in terms of your policy making? You should be doing policy making that relates to what works in society. That would be the most important thing, right? Another big problem is the police wellness checks in Canada right now. They're just straight up murdering people, which isn't great. They're just showing up at their house and killing people. So that's also not great. So hopefully that improves in the slightest. it's a really weird thing that you're showing up to help people out when they need it, and you're killing them. Not
It's
entirely
fun-loving,
sure
but quiet. He didn't go out much. He liked staying home, drinking coffee, and listening to music. But on April 6th, DeAndre needed help. He had schizophrenia and called 911. Officers arrived. He was tasered, shot, and killed. His family can't understand why.
They shouldn't be sending police with guns for a mental issue. They should be sending proper trained people with an ambulance.
Ontario's Special Investigations Unit is looking into what happened. Whatever the outcome of that investigation, the shooting is another in a long list of police interactions disproportionately affecting people of color.
I understand completely why they would feel that way.
The police chief in Peel Region, where DeAndre lived, acknowledges that systemic racism is a problem.
We'd be foolish to think there's no racial bias in any police agency.
But the chief says it goes beyond the police department.
We're not.
It do. Canadians have racked up $13 million in coronavirus fines from racial profiling. Interesting. Okay, so that's just a little quick sample of the things going on in Canada. One of the reasons I wanted to start out with talking about Canada, though, is because British Columbia, which happens to be the only SOCDEM government in all of North America, it's where I live as well. We're the only SOCDEMs of all of North America. It's neat. We're also the only province that's about to enter phase 3, as in we have so few COVID cases right now. And that's in large part due to the health minister of British Columbia, but also it has a lot to do with having a SOCDEM government that was going to facilitate the process, such as housing the homeless in Victoria and or giving people, workers, an extra $1,000 a month to survive when they're locked up, is going to be in stark contrast to what's happening in the United States right now, which is just abject outrageousness, mostly horror. We shot a person in the mental health crisis because they were a threat to themselves. What? Is this on Twitch? I can't find the channel. No, we're doing a Twitch blackout today because it's a solidarity with the amount of Me Too horror stories that are coming out of that platform right now. It's not great. Okay. U.S. Let's just say Orange Man. Why not increase funding for all these institutions, including the police, with different structural reforms? Because you said many crimes go unsolved, including rapes. Yeah, Starchild. So the problem is the more money that we're throwing at the police as of now is not resulting in better results. So the more we increase police budgets, we're not receiving better results for our money. Therefore, that throwing more money at the police is not solving any of the problems. So, in turn, you would have to look at what is necessary in order to improve or ameliorate the conditions of the people who are currently living under those systems, right? That would probably be the best thing. What was the name of the SOCDEM city? SOCDEM province. It's British Columbia in Canada. We are the only SOCDEM-led government in North America right now. We're actually a fusion of a SOCDEM government with a Green Party government, but the Green Party isn't really SOCDEM. They're kind of, I don't know what you would even call them, strange, anarcho-capitalists almost. They seem to think that like the solution to global warming is money, which is weird. I'm going to talk a little bit about the U.S. And one of the reasons that I started out by talking about the Canada, if you will, the Canada, was to talk about, of course, how I just mentioned our province is slowly starting phase 3 of the restart plan. BC is going to return to normal-ish. I'm not saying that's a boast or brag. I think what's happening in the United States right now is absolutely horrifying. It disgusts me. And one of the reasons why is that it's really putting to the forefront and showing everybody right now, and this is just insanely sad, how little the United States cares about, and this is not just the United States as a country, this is more just like, as Tucker Carlson likes to call them, the elites, but I'm just talking about the people in charge, aka the billionaires, the millionaires, the corporations, all that kind of stuff. They don't care about old people, they don't care about poor people, and they especially don't care about black people. because those are the people who are dying, and they're dying in horrific numbers right now. I mean, I hear that Texas apparently is about to call a state of emergency because they're having an enormous spike in outbreaks. New York is having an enormous spike in outbreaks again, to the point where New York is probably going to have their medical system overwhelmed, and they're already having, I think, the largest deaths per capita of almost any other place in the United States. It's just like, it's completely horrifying to me, and it's not in a vacuum, right? Like, you can look at what's happening in the United States and then juxtapose it with other countries. See which countries have done well. See which countries have gotten through this. See which countries have at least tried to sustain the lives of their citizenry. Which countries were willing to put forward more money in order to allow people to live at home. Which countries were willing to put more money to invest in masks, respirators, all that kind of stuff. When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, in the United States right now, there's about 40 million unemployed Americans as a result of COVID-19. That's 40 million unemployed Americans. Meanwhile, there's 630 billionaires in the United States who have become exceptionally richer through this process. Now, I'm not saying this to suddenly inflare everyone's hatred of the haves and the have-nots. I'm not trying to talk to everyone about that, because I know it's a little too lefty for a lot of people who might not be on this side of the aisle. That's fine. But on some level, that should discuss some of you. I mean, I'm hoping that at some point there's got to be a limit. There's got to be a breaking point. I've already seen the breaking point when it comes to the numbers. And by the way, we were like the Serfs, me and Dave, when we were doing a podcast on this and we were talking about who's going to win the election, we were so right. We were saying, and it was almost on point, that there's going to be a level of death. And once that occurs, it doesn't matter how Teflon Trump is. And how bad his opponent is, aka Joe Biden, he's going to become unpalatable to the American public. Once you start having 1 in 10 Americans know someone who's sick and or dying, then it suddenly becomes only the chuds, only the extreme MAGA chuds are going to be the ones who are willing to stand by and be like, okay, fine, I'm still okay with Donald Trump. Let's go with that. But anyways, when it comes down to this, and like I said, back to those stats, 40 million unemployed Americans. 60,000 homeless veterans, or maybe it's 45,000, I think, is I'm going to just be throwing random numbers out here. But anyways, an overwhelming amount of homeless veterans, 40 million unemployed Americans, 630 billionaires who have become decidedly richer through this process. Something is fundamentally broken with that system. You should not have a small amount, by small, again, 630 individuals with enough money to solve a lot of these problems. And here's the other fucked up thing. I was listening to this yesterday, and there was a panel, and there was a whole bunch of different conservative members on the panel, and they even admitted the fact that if we were to shave the accrued wealth of billionaires in the United States by half, they would still be the richest Americans in the country. So we could take half of that wealth and redistribute it and put it towards very necessary programs to sustain life, and they would still be the richest Americans in the country. There's something fucked up about all that. And the fact that, like, whenever I bring this up to people who aren't lefties, they're like, well, yeah, but that's just the way the world works. You have to understand that they earned that wealth. They earned it by virtue of being good at doing what they did. So you get that, right? That's part of the process. The meritocracy in action. All right, before we get to some silliness, because we're going to need it soon. Oh, and we got a lot of candy up for later. Although it's weird playing candy on this platform, I'm going to say that. If I played some more news, so we watched it, then you're just watching me watching a YouTube video that you can just watch on YouTube if you click that. It's not the same as Twitch. It's not like watching this. It's kind of like, I mean, React Andy has a new meaning if we're going to do it that way. Can I destroy Destiny? What do you mean in the battle place of ideas? Destroy Destiny with his mind. Cody Johnson is good. I love Cody Johnson. Okay, here's something funny to break up all this glim. Hassan Piker, low-key pissed that I wasn't added to the sexually suggestive Twitch streamers lawsuit. I need to hit that gym harder and start posting thirst traps on the IG again. Someone's suing Twitch streamers right now. A Twitch viewer from California has submitted a civil complaint seeking $25 million in damages from Twitch for exposing them to overly subjective and sexual content from various female streamers. Based on court documents obtained by Dezexto? I guess Dezexto. Plaintiff Eric Estavillo, who was previously sued Eric Istavillo, who has previously sued Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Blizzard, submitted the formal complaint on court to June 15th, seeking a lawsuit, and Twitch itself was served with the official summons on June 19th. Because of the ladies, they've tempted too much out of him, and now he wants reciprocity. So these are the amount of streamers that he's suing: Amaranth, Peach, Jade the Jaguar, Little Chipmunk, Loser Fruit, Pokimane. Weird. This whole thing is very, very... it's serious. It's 100% serious. I mean, first off, it's as serious as it gets from someone who seems to have a pattern of suing every single large company for something ridiculous. But this isn't something new. The fact that men are fundamentally upset at female Twitch streamers. This is like just female streamers in general. I don't know if this is a big thing on YouTube, but on Twitch, there's this massive thing about, because women are hot, they must have absolutely no talent and no discernible talent. And the only reason why people would watch them is because of the tits and because of the lips and mostly the tits and the ace and all that kind of stuff. Which, first off, is sexist as fuck because, there's a whole host of reasons. Second, as is clearly evident by Hassan Piker, men can be incredibly beautiful and tempting and sometimes confusing. They can make us question our own deeply held beliefs and ideals. And sometimes we might just watch Hassan for an inordinate amount of time without knowing why, and then strangely desire to start sending him money and not exactly understand the purpose behind it. And then, of course, things might get a little bizarre when you start writing him personal letters. And anyways, the reason I'm talking about all this is that, it's fundamentally exceptionally sexist. And here's the weird thing. If you don't like what you're seeing, or if you feel a temptation, turn it off. Control W? Am I right? Control W and it's gone? Control W and it disappears? Like, what more is there? But seriously, I don't understand it. Like, like, oh God, yeah, she's so hot. I want to send her money. How can I stop this thing that is happening right now? Control W, and then it's gone. I mean, for me, whenever I'm watching a certain streamer who shall remain nameless, and all of a sudden, I'm watching them for some time, and I'm there initially because I want to learn things about the news and see what he has to say about the various topics of the day, and then all of a sudden I might have strange inclination. Anyways, the point being, everybody, is that if you don't like it, turn it off. You don't have to sue them. This is just it's incel behavior 101. It's this weird idea that women owe you penis pleasure, or that women are kind of just walking sleeves for your penis, and that's their only purpose. Like I don't understand. Like they're human beings. Thunderwolf 666 with the £5. Lance, my loins ink for your presents. Well, fuck, it's happening right now. See, I'm a hypocrite, is what I am. I'm calling this behavior out, and yet at the same time, I'm benefiting from it. It's paying my rent. I was straight. I watched the sound for 57 hours. And now I'm gay. Nice. Well, I mean, you could find yourself somewhere in the middle, right? Is there any conservative outrage concerning this? There's a ton of conservative outrage. Let's be clear. This is basically from the liberal to the right. Typically on the right, but there is obviously some libs who are upset about this. Mostly train wrecks on. Well, I guess he is kind of a Bernie supporter. I don't know what he is, but anyways, it's bizarre. Don't worry about it too much. Let's talk about the good news. I want to talk about all the amazing victories from last night. Because last night was an amazing victory. That was probably the best primary the left may have ever had. All right, one sec. I cannot prove if I am or am not wearing pants at this time. That will stay. The left wins. All hail Kevin. Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin. Thunderwolf. I keep reading your name as Thunderfoot666. I don't know why. It's maybe some just weird, like, Freudian slip. All right, everybody. If you are on any end of the political spectrum from, I guess, left onward, you may or may not have had the good old-fashioned pain and suffrage and just the realization that it's sad out there sometimes, you know? Like, we don't win a lot. We really don't, you know? And especially the big ones. We don't win the big tickets. I mean, come on. Whether it's in Britain, I mean, that was ridiculous. Corbyn is an anti-Semite. Did anyone actually believe that? Some of you did. Even some of you sockdems and some of you lefties believed it. You didn't want to. None of us did. None of us actually genuinely thought he was an actual anti-Semite, but something made us think that we had to say that or think it. That was weird. And then Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is gone. Like, you know what dawned on me the other day and what made me so unbelievably upset and then furious was the fact that Joe Biden is going to win. Joe Biden is going to destroy Donald Trump in this upcoming election because every single day that goes by, Trump is not going to fix things. He's going to make things worse. More people are going to die. By the time we hit November, there's going to be 200,000 dead Americans, and that's conservative. All right, that's not reporting this true amount of deaths, pneumonia, and other things that come from COVID-19. That's conservative, and because of that, he's going to get crushed. He's going to get crushed by a senile old man accused of sexual assault who's fucking racist at the best of times, clueless at the worst of times. Actually, maybe reverse those two things. But either way, Joe Biden sucks. But he's going to win, and he's better than Donald Trump. I hope he wins, to be honest. I'm for a Joe Biden over Donald Trump presidency. But it didn't have to be this way. Like, Bernie Sanders could have destroyed him. Lexi J, how dare you use my Photoshop as a thumbnail with the $2? That is you. I had that pop up in my meme section of our Discord. Very, very good job. Do you have like a Twitter or something you want me to put out there? I don't know. Or promote. I would love to promote your work. It's fantastic. But anyways, sorry, I wasn't trying to get anyone down. I'm trying to uplift people. That's kind of the point of this whole show. So hey, we won yesterday, and we won a lot of things. We may even win another really big thing, which would be if Booker can win. But we'll get into that in a second. Let's just get through some of these with a friend of the show.
Progressives might have had the best night electorally.
I don't know what the deal is with watching YouTube clips on YouTube while I'm streaming. Do other YouTube streamers do this? I have no idea. But you know, let's just try it. Don't sue me, Mike. All right? I love you, Mike. Get me back on your show. Let's talk.
If not ever. We racked up so many wins that anyone
a link to the Discord. Oh yeah,
demoralized after Bernie Sanders' defeat, who felt as if, you know, they wanted to check out of electoral politics. I'll admit that I kind of felt that way for a while as well. This proves that the left lives on, and I know that the pundits and the Democratic Party establishment, they were really hoping that we would feel as if electoral politics, you know, was a dead end and we should just stop focusing on it. But this proves that we can still win, and going into that next congressional session, starting in 2021, we have a sizable block now, because we have a number of progressives who won their primary campaigns, and the establishment is noticing. Like, it's not as if these progressive upsets here and there are anomalies. These aren't flukes. This is something that is happening now more frequently, and tonight proves that. So I think the obvious victory that we were all expecting was AOC to get another victory when it comes to her primary. You know, she was facing someone who I didn't necessarily believe was a serious primary challenger, although she did have the backing of corporate interests. So, you know, you never want to underestimate your opponent, even if it seems as if they're a joke and they don't have a platform. She took it seriously, and AOC's opponent got her clock cleaned. Good. Now, the next victory, which is by far the biggest of the night, came from New York's 16th congressional district, where Jamal Bowman defeated Eliot Engel. Now, let me tell you about this race. Eliot Engel is an incumbent who has been in Congress for decades. This is an individual who had the backing of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh, I'm muted. This is nice. This is different. So when I forget to, you know, unmute myself, I get lit up on Twitch. Here, everyone's so nice. Like, you're just like, oh, you're muted. Sir. Oh, there's one boomer call out. Okay, but Winston's from Twitch, so he knows what to do. But yeah, we can hear Mike. See, everyone's so friendly. Look how nice you all are. You're all like, oh, wow, this is... What's wrong? Are you okay, Lance? Is the stream okay? It's not like you old man. What's wrong with you? Can you even feel your own eye sockets anymore, old man? What I was saying was, do I sound like I'm on helium? Do I sound Jordan Peterson, or do I see? Am I okay?
Caucus. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton even was trotted out to endorse Elliot Engel, and guess what?
I wondered why I was quiet.
Beat him. And he beat him by a lot. So that's honestly one of the biggest wins that we could have hoped for. In every cycle, at least once, we want to take out a really big Democrat, someone who is poised to be in leadership, be the next speaker. And we couldn't get Steny Hoyer, but Elliot Engel, he's kind of higher up in the ranks within the Democratic Party. So he was a good target for Justice Democrats in brand new Congress, and they took him out. Awesome news. Now, we did not win every single race. We followed dozens of candidates on this podcast. We did get some losses here. So let's talk about them. In New York's 3rd congressional district, Melanie DeRigo unfortunately lost her primary, although she got an impressive 32.5% of the vote. And this could still change. Keep in mind that only 38% of precincts are reporting at the time.
It's fun there too. You get to meet a whole bunch of new lefties.
But
and I can go back and forth. I'll be
She
ambidextrous.
did not win. And she was a phenomenal candidate.
I'm going to assume
how
soon,
impressive
Winston.
her showing was
Probably
here. Hopefully, she will be back
Monday.
in the future. When it comes to New York's 5th congressional district, we didn't get to speak to Shaniat Chowdhury.
Starchild, yes. I'm going to get to that. But yeah, that's basically the most exciting prospect about this. I've been seeing for a while how much the Overton window has shifted, especially in the last 5 years. It's incredible how the fact that we can actually call ourselves socialists openly and not be condemned or oppressed is pretty amazing. Not to mention we're not relegated to small little book clubs in the far corners of some strange dank library where there's actual cockroaches on our penises and other strange shit like that. So it's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time, and I hadn't seen it reflected in electoral politics yet. But again, I should have paid attention to the fact that those waves usually are about, the cycle is about 4 to 5 years behind the general consensus of what everyone is talking about. So now we're starting to finally see that, and I'm starting to have hope for the future of humanity because, yes, the left is starting to win in these smaller primary districts, and that will increase with time. It's going to become an overflowing of incredible support. And you're going to see a lot of people who aren't just leftists in the sense that they're like sock dems. You're going to see people who are actual full-blooded, crypto socialists coming out there and being like, yes, I'm ready and I'm going to defeat the incumbent. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Maybe every week or so do a stream on YouTube to get the viewers onto Twitch. Ooh, I could do that. Yes. Let me recruit all of you. Hey, every single one of you who's here, go to twitch.tv/the Serfs TV and come hang out. We're cozy over there too. We got these weird dancing emotes and I get to do mutual aid where I raid into other lefties, and you get to meet all these other strange lefty streamers. And there's a lot of people you love over there. H Bomber Guy's over there. He hangs out. Sean's over there. Dan 3 Arrows is over there. Philosophy Tube is over there. They're all just hanging out, getting strange and getting weird. That's just what's going on. But yes, younger, more diverse, more inclusive, all beautiful things. Hopefully gay. I want to see just way more gay all over the place. Would be beautiful as well. But anyways, this is a wonderful thing, and you're going to see it more. My big prediction is in the next 6 years, you're going to see an overwhelming amount of support towards these kind of candidates. And that also has a lot to do with us, both people in the media and people at home who are going to be activists and working on these kind of campaigns. Stop putting all your chips and love behind one person, aka Bernie Sanders, and start spreading it out to a whole bunch of these candidates, especially your local ones, because that's the most important thing. And yes, they're going to form a little lefty Tea Party, because it's no longer just AOC, Bernie Sanders, and sometimes a couple others. Right now, there's going to be a little group, shall we say?
Was a great candidate. Unfortunately, he did not win. So this is one loss that definitely hurts. But another one, a candidate who we followed very closely on this program. I brought him on 3 times. Is Isaiah James, and unfortunately, he was not able to win and beat Yvette Clarke. This is definitely disappointing. When it comes to New York's 10th congressional district, Lindsey Boylan unfortunately was not able to defeat Jerry Nadler.
Now, about what,
an
Daft
interesting
Tracks?
note about this race is Lindsey Boylan actually got momentum after she was snubbed by Elizabeth Warren. I wasn't really aware of her race. You know, she was backed by brand new Congress, so I supported her, but I didn't know much about her. But, you know, Elizabeth Warren backed Jerry Nadler over her after Elizabeth Warren, you know, was grandstanding during the Democratic primary about how important it is to elect women. Well, you have an opportunity to elect a progressive woman, and you just shunned her.
Silicone.
So a lot of people on the left kind of rallied around Lindsey Boylan, myself included, because she got shunned by Elizabeth Warren, who she kind of respected, right? Unfortunately, Lindsey didn't get it done, but at 25%, that's still impressive. Now, moving on. In New York's 12th congressional district,
Flo, you don't have to
Carolyn
give the money to
Maloney
Twitch. You can actually donate
very
directly through
clearly
Streamlabs.
vulnerable.
So that way
She's an
Bezos doesn't get
incumbent,
richer.
and she's hurting. So you have Lauren Ash.
Collaborative discussion. We talk. It's he's one of the few people I talk to like every other day. He's always sending me links, usually links to his own videos. Christo, what's with the self promotion, bro? But at the same time, no, I love Christo, and he's always sending me Canadian news, especially. He's good peeps.
With 13.5% of the vote, you have Suraj Patel with 39.8% of the vote. Very, very close here. Now, Lauren Ashcraft was the candidate who Brand New Congress endorsed. Suraj
So,
Patel.
DWC 1964, the reason I'm going to strong disagree with you, and I think your heart's in the right place, is I think you will be politically ineffective in the United States, and you will just be relegated to being a small party that just siphons a few votes off of other political parties, but you will not be effective politically. What you need to do in the United States is you need to infect the Democratic Party and cause it to become diseased from within. And I know I'm using the weird side of the metaphor here, but you basically need to get into it. You need to infect it at all levels. You need to go at the very smallest level, mayors, comptrollers, and climb your way up all the way to the top. We started way too high with Bernie Sanders. That was a little ambitious, but still, there's so many victories to be had. Once you do that, you can actually transform the party from within. And yes, you will have a lot of pushback from, of course, the deeply entrenched rich side of the Democrats and the liberal Democrats especially, but you are already seeing the cracks forming. These victories yesterday is a really strong indication of what happens when you have grassroots people pushing forward. And unfortunately, because the United States is a two-party system, it needs to happen this way. You cannot form the Communist Party or the Rhino Party or the Workers' Party, because they won't have any power on the larger stage, especially when it comes to I'm not even go as far as federal election, but state elections, governor elections, stuff like that. You need these kind of examples. And yes, there are isolated examples such as Bernie Sanders, who was an independent for a very long time. But at this point, we have come far enough, I think, that we can start eroding the Democratic Party from within. Like, let's be the disease. All right, that should be our campaign slogan going forward.
Is definitely a trade up if you were to beat Carolyn Maloney, but I have my doubts about him when it comes to policies. He claims he supports Medicare for all and a Green New Deal, so I mean he's right
Agreed,
on the
Robert.
issues. Although when you go to his website,
he laid the groundwork.
He has a banner of him and Obama, and that doesn't necessarily give me the most confidence that he's going to be a secure progressive vote for these issues. Nonetheless, I mean, Carolyn Maloney is absolutely horrible. So it's not done yet. There are 82.07% of precincts reporting. Maybe Suraj can get it done. Either way, this is proof that Carolyn Maloney is vulnerable, and she's, her time is coming to an end here in Congress. So if she's not out this time, she's really vulnerable in 2022. When it comes to New York's 15th congressional district, this was kind of an open race. There's no incumbent. I supported Samalis Lopez. Brand New Congress endorsed a candidate who's also great, named Tomas Rojas. Unfortunately, someone named Richie Torres was elected. This is someone who, you can make the case that he's progressive. He claims he supports
We're nearly to these. So yes, DWC, you're correct in a handful of things. So one of the big things, and one thing that you should be taking to heart and be very excited about, is the fact that yes, someone like Bernie Sanders has effectively moved the Overton window, but not just him. I would like to put it all onto one person, but that's disingenuous. There's a whole bunch of factors of why the United States has begun to shift so much further to the left, especially within the younger generation. If you look at the Zoomers, the kids are all right. They are overwhelmingly in favor of a whole bunch of lefty programs, social programs, and at the very least, they want to move it towards a sock dem government because they've seen how things work out in, say, Scandinavia. They just have a better quality of life across the board. So because of that, within the last 5 years, we have seen an enormous shift of public sentiment towards leftist ideals. This means that it is ripe now to start taking advantage of that politically, because again, it's a little bit difficult when your grandparents and or your parents are kind of like, I don't really want to give away to all that red scare communist stuff, where now this stuff has been normalized in a very, very good way. And the DSA is different, by the way. The DSA, just as an entire body trying to get into electoral politics, is different than me saying that you need to infect the electoral system. This doesn't just apply to the DSA as a body. This applies to any single person who can run anywhere. So the game doesn't start and stop at electoral politics, all right? There's one aspect of it, and that is definitely something that is important. The left cannot ignore politics, otherwise they're just going to be politically ineffective. There's no point to them. But at the same time, the left has a really, really good opportunity. You can start to work and like when I said start small, think of it like this. Start running, if you can, in small politics. Run for your local school board. Run for your school board trustee. Run for your local mayor. Run for your comptroller. And I love saying comptroller because clearly I know what that means. Start there. Win those elections. Start climbing the ladder. Get people, obviously, in Congress. Get people in the House. Get people in the Senate. That's all very, very important. But it doesn't have to be the DSA says this, they're going to plant in this. We've seen what happens, especially with overseen bodies when they try to affect political parties, especially right now, Joshua for Congress, when there's suddenly, like, the Rose Caucus is endorsing certain people over other people. None of that really matters. At the end of the day, what matters is individual battles. And each individual battle should be focused within their small area. So we all wanted to focus on Bernie Sanders together, but we could focus on much smaller battles within our districts, right? And I know I'm saying this as a Canadian, so this is probably going to sound a little disingenuous, but at the end of the day, if you are in America, start concentrating on your area, start concentrating on your city, your town, go forward and higher into your state, and then that should be what you focus on. If you've won there, start helping out in the next area that's closest to you. Everyone should be doing that and basically galvanizing around that kind of stuff.
Medicare for all, but his record.
My congressman was a DSA, didn't change anything. Yeah, because one congressman will not change the system. And I'm not saying, hey, if every single person in America happened to be a SOCDEM, then capitalism's over. No, that's like I'm saying, this is one thing. If you can control politics, if we can get enough people into the political system that even if we don't control it, if we can stave off some of the horrendous shit that's been happening, we then will have a lot more breathing room to do the other side of the aisle, which is very, very important. That happens to be forming worker cooperatives, forming unionization, if you have that in your workplace or you don't have it already, work on those two things, as well as mutual aid, all incredibly important. And on top of that, I mean, having fun, go out there and fuck. I mean, party. That's what the left is supposed to be about, right? We're the group of people who doesn't judge you if you're going to enjoy drugs or you're going to enjoy pansexual pleasures, all these kind of things. Like that's supposed to be the beauty of the left, all right? Enjoy yourselves. But what I'm also saying is that you have to win in the hearts and minds of people. So that aspect of it has to be on that front as well. So it can't just be Bernie Sanders wins, the game is over. That's what everyone kind of got into their heads, and that's why everyone got really, really sad when everything kind of fell apart. That shouldn't be the case. What should be the case is, again, get as many people into politics as possible, get as much people, galvanized as possible, and at the same time, work in your local area to do mutual aid, help out with your local IWW or whatever your organization is, volunteer, all that kind of stuff is great. And if you're not down with that and you just want to stay at home, well then enjoy your life and enjoy the pleasures of life and help out other people enjoy the pleasures of life, because that way they'll say, hey, y'all are pretty cute, you don't judge, you're welcoming, you don't judge people based on the way they were born, I like y'all, and you have sex, this is amazing on every level, unless you're asexual, of course, I got to be into that too. But then they're going to be like, yeah, I like the left is pretty swell, I'm going to come over and I'm going to like you, it's a multifaceted system.
On city council shows that he's kind of weak, he doesn't hold strong, he's willing to buckle. And, I don't have the utmost confidence
30
in him.
seconds.
I'm willing to give him
probably
a
the
chance.
Best. Grab buck to max.
But I mean, it could be worse, right? You can get someone far worse than him. He is kind of more of a Warren Democrat than, a really strong lefty. That being said, it is what it is. There were a lot of people running in this race. And, hopefully he'll be able to prove me wrong when it comes to New York's 6th congressional district. Unfortunately, the
are you referencing Canada's Star Child? I assume.
Mel Gagarin,
because otherwise that doesn't really make sense.
So I didn't follow this race, but he was a good candidate. And he was
there's really good news on that front too. By the way,
been able to bring on the show. But enough
the Canadian
about the
right
losses,
is splintering
right?
again.
We had a lot of losses. There were a lot of candidates running. But now let's talk about
I'm celebrating them right now. So many good wins for the left.
You already know about AOC and Jamal Bowman. But guess what? In Virginia's 1st congressional district, we got a gigantic win because Qasim Rashid won his primary with 52.8% of the vote. And if you don't know who Qasim Rashid is, he is a strong progressive. If you look at his policy platform, it is incredibly detailed. It's thorough. He's a strong proponent of single-payer Medicare for all. This is someone who the left wants in Congress. And guess what? Just won his primary. Out of nowhere. Great news. Another person who I wish I would have brought on the program, didn't get a chance to talk to him, but he won. And this is huge. Like, this is such great news. On top of that, Mondaire Jones in New York's 17th congressional district pulled off an upset. This is someone who is a very progressive candidate. You know, he supports Medicare for all. He is a solid vote for the progressive bloc in Congress. This is absolutely excellent news. So let's just pause for a moment and recap. In terms of progressives, AOC won. We'll chalk that up as a victory, even though we expected that one. Jamal Bowman won his primary in a huge political upset. Rashid won his primary in Virginia's 1st congressional district, another huge upset. Mondaire Jones won his primary in New York's 17th congressional district. It may very well be the case that we get a progressive beating Carolyn Maloney. It may very well be the case, numbers are still coming in, that Charles Booker wins in Kentucky. If that's the case, if, all of this goes according to plan, and the, races that are kind of teetering back and forth right now end up going progressive, that means we get 6 wins. 6 gigantic wins. But taking away the ones that are up in the air, we still have 4 solid progressives just win their primary. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And I don't think people realize the impact that this is going to have on electoral.
OAT Poon with the incredibly generous 20 euros. Thank you so much. That is absolutely incredible. That's obscenely generous of you. And I'm not used to getting super chats in the middle of streams because we don't really do that over on the other side of the aisle. So I'm gonna take a page from Vaush and I'm gonna try to be a little Vaush-like. So I'll be like, thank you for the incredibly generous, very very nice of you. But that is very very kind.
Electoral politics going.
And more calls for celebration, everyone. Again, to be a leftist is to suffer. I'm sure most people here, even if you're very young, if you're Zoomers, you have suffered. You know the pain, whether you're Britain and Jeremy Corbyn, or you don't even have to be from Britain, you can be from South America. Fuck. If you're from Brazil, you are now living under the tenureship of Jair Bolsonaro, and you know how incredibly horrific Jair Bolsonaro can be when you had so many better options with Lula da Silva before that. So we know what it is to suffer, but we should also know what it is to find joy and to celebrate and to enjoy these wonderful moments, because they can be seldom, but when they come, we should use them. All right. I'm stealing generous demonetized. True. But yeah, this makes me happy, everybody. This is just such fantastic news across the board. The big one, of course, is going to be, let's see if he talks about it very, very quickly. Gonna get all my news from Mike Figueroa. I don't even make my own content anymore. Oh yeah, Charles Booker. Charles Booker, of course, being the big one that I wanted to go up head to head with Mitch McConnell. This looks like it might not be the case, although they're closing the gap. We were talking a little bit earlier, a couple people I saw in the chat saying that there's no such thing as democracy. Democracy is dead. And well, it's definitely tainted, to say the very least, especially in the United States. I mean, you can't expect the youth vote to come out in anything other than nothing when they have to wait 8 hours to be able to vote. And, Kentucky was no exception. They slashed the number of polling places yesterday, I think, from, 3,700 to 200, which is just fucking obscene. This is not democracy.
5,000.
And even then, Charles Booker was coming in close, so close that I think it almost warrants a recount. So we're going to see what happens from there. I'm going to keep my ear to the pavement, as the kids say.
Who's the winner? But
I've seen a Summoners video on ranked choice voting. I haven't. It's right here, right? We're doing elections wrong. I gotta watch it. Maybe we'll do that in the candy section at the very end, because I still got to get through some ghouls and stuff like that. Hey, by the way, if you don't know this, for my live shows, I usually phone in. It's probably pretty late now. What time is it? Oh yeah, it's like 3:48. I usually phone in to some conservative ASOs, like the GOP party. So if you have someone who might be still able to answer a phone that you want me to call into, such as your local Texas representative or something like that, I can do that, and I can send them. I can have a little conversation with them. So let me know if there's something you'd like to see.
Reporting, Amy McGrath is currently leading by about 5,000 votes. However, before you get too down, as USA Polling points out, the Washington Post has votes in from Lexington, Fayette County, and Booker has a 50-point lead. If that's accurate, Booker will win the Kentucky Senate. Still
until the
waiting
30th.
For more votes to come in.
Booker could still win. Oh, that's huge.
As if Amy
That's
McGrath
huge.
is the favorite currently. That's true, but Booker slowly but surely is closing the lead, and I'm not going to count him out just yet, right? Until every single vote is counted. But this race, it's already an uphill battle because of the shenanigans that are taking place. So a day before people...
By the way, chat, how is the quality? I can't really tell on my end. Is it still 1080p, 60 frames per second, all that nice stuff? I ask because I want to be able to upload some of this stuff to YouTube later. So let me know if it's working. Democracy is dead. Form communities and create autonomous zones. The autonomous zone in Seattle is not doing too well right now. Thanks in large part due to, I'm sure, a huge amount of media press and lies saying that people are getting shot on a regular basis. Democracy was actually just capitalism wearing it like a skin suit. A skin flute.
Voted. We found out that Kentucky was cutting the number of polling stations from 3,700 down to 200. That is a 95% reduction, which leaves places like
pretty
Jefferson
decent legs on
County
my
and
end.
Louisville
Young candidate
with
Boiler
just
thinks
one
we can
polling
win despite
place
spoiling
for
for chances.
hundreds
Damn.
of thousands
Quality's
of
great.
residents.
Nice.
So naturally,
It's just really behind.
if you
It's
tell
like a whole
hundreds of thousands of
30
people that they
seconds.
have one place where they can vote, well, then what's going to happen? That's a form of voter suppression. Not everyone
He
will
is a
get their
spoiler,
voices
yeah.
heard, and the people who manage to make it to the polls, I mean, it's going to be sheer chaos. Of course, there was a traffic jam because everyone is trying to, show up to these polling stations that have been reduced. And a lot of people couldn't make it to the polls on a weekday, before 6 p.m. because there was a traffic jam, which led a lot of people at a particular expo not being able to vote. They locked the doors literally at 6 p.m. sharp, and people just were shut out. They clearly wanted to vote, but thankfully, they opened back up. The deadline was extended by a half an hour, but since the number of polling stations was reduced, since more people wanted to make their voices heard, Booker filed an injunction to try to extend the polling time, keep it open for at least another couple of hours. He wanted to close at 9 p.m. I think that's reasonable because this is happening on a weekday, right? It's a Tuesday. People are getting off of work, trying to rush to the polls. There's traffic because everyone is trying to go to the same polling place. It's chaotic. So if you want there to be democracy, you have to give people at least more time. I mean, they should have the option to vote by mail. They should have more than just one polling station for, a county with hundreds of thousands of people. But if you're not going to give them that, at least let them have a couple of extra hours to vote. A judge said no to that. So as Tal Axelrod of The Hill reports, a Kentucky judge denied a request from State Representative Charles Booker's Senate campaign to keep polls open in Jefferson County until 9 p.m. The judge noted that the court had already ordered that individuals who were at the polling place by...
In Norway, voting day is a read day, a holiday. That's the way it should be everywhere. That's ridiculous. And hey, speaking as a Canadian, we have up to 2 weeks sometimes early voting. So for 2 weeks on the weekends, there's just signs everywhere. Hey, if you want to vote today, go ahead. 0 lines. Like when I vote, I walk into like a church, which is like a block away from my house, and I walk in, walk out. The whole thing takes less than like 2 minutes. Like it's so outrageous to me to hear stories of the United States where people are like, yeah, I waited 8 hours in line yesterday to vote. I was like, 8 hours of your day. Are you given food? Do you wear diapers? Like, how does that work? It's just so foreign to me. Like, I have to book off an entire day to do a democracy. No wonder the numbers are so low. And everyone's like, well, the children no kids are voting. There's no voter turnout for children. Well, yeah, no, fuck. If I was a kid, I have to go out and work. I have to do school. I have to study. Or let's be real, they're probably off doing the old druggy drugs and the old innie out. So that's probably what's going down. So, I mean, if I was a child, sorry, because kids are having sex. Oh my. Good thing that YouTube can't clip. No one's taking these clips out of context. But anyways, as I was saying, and I was being totally frank and serious about this, it's very important that they have the ability to do the things they need to do. You can't even buy alcohol on that day. What? You can't buy alcohol? Wow. No drunk voting in the United States. Insurgent Jamal Bowman takes a big leap over Representative Elliot Engel in the New York primary. It's going to be the next AOC, everyone's saying.
Elliot Engel, the powerful chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee in the Democratic primary for 16th Congressional District in Westchester County in the Bronx.
But what about the vegans?
Associated Press reports 92% of precincts have reported results, but it's not clear how many absentee ballots still need to be counted. Jamal Bowman ran on a Green New Deal, Medicare for All platform and joined recent protests demanding an end to racism and police brutality. He spoke at a campaign party late Tuesday.
I'm a black man in America.
you know, raised by a single mom, you know, spent some time in the housing projects, lived in rent-stabilized apartments, went to public schools my entire life, grew up during the crack cocaine epidemic, which hurt and ravaged many.
Wait, stream on Roku is HD. I'm on Roku right now? What? Hello, Roku. How's it going? I don't know a lot about your platform. Or maybe I shouldn't have done this bit because I haven't actually had confirmation if I am on Roku, and maybe I'm not even on Roku. So I don't know where I'm going with here. Hey, I'm going to use this opportunity to play some fun sounds.
COVID-19!
Oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's been a weird one. I gotta do this whole YouTube thing. They're nice though. The people on YouTube have been very nice to me. I guess you don't really remember that. You haven't been on YouTube in a long time because of the whole telling people their kids are crisis actors. So you won't be coming back to this platform. But hey, you've got your own. So there's that. You're always one step ahead, aren't you? You little scamp. Oh.
Parts of my family as well as my friends' families as well. You know, my best friend who's here tonight, I'll never forget the night he called me when I was out partying at a club and told me his brother was shot and killed. And at a very young age, as a black man in America, you get to learn about death and homicide and suicide and how it impacts not just you individually, but your community and the rest of the country. And it was these experiences that led me to being an educator in the first place. And I served in that role as an educator with pride and passion and dignity, and tried my best to do everything I could to uplift the lives of every child that I taught and every child that I served, and to do everything I could to make sure families had what they needed and that they understood and leveraged the power of their voices. Unfortunately, as we all know, we live in a country where despite our financial wealth, we have tens of millions of children still living in poverty. And as an educator working for the Department of Education for 20 years, I've seen the impact of poverty on the lives of our kids each and every day. And poverty is not a result of children and families who don't work hard. Our children and families work as hard as anyone else. Poverty is by political design. And it's rooted in a system that has been fractured and corrupt and rotten from its core from the inception of America, especially over the last several decades. So poverty and the impact of poverty on our children and dealing with issues of institutional racism and sexism and classism and xenophobia and everything that keeps the majority of us oppressed is what we designed this campaign to fight against. So tonight, as we celebrate, we don't just celebrate me as an individual. We celebrate this movement, a movement designed to push back against a system that's literally killing us. It's killing black and brown bodies disproportionately, but it's killing all of us. Elliot Engel, and I'll say his name once, used to say that he was a thorn in the side of Donald Trump. But you know what Donald Trump is more afraid of than anything else? A black man with power. That is what Donald Trump is afraid of. So if the results continue to bear out, as they are bearing out this evening, and we get to Congress, it will be our job to hold Donald Trump accountable and to hold every elected official accountable that continues to be beholden to corporate interests, that continues to be beholden to the wealthy, and is not fighting for the poor and is not fighting for the working class in our country. Because America, if we are truly powerful, we should use that power to create peace all over the world, to become a humanitarian leader on this planet, and to make sure we have housing and jobs and fully funded schools and infrastructure
what's happening
and
right now?
healthcare that's exemplary and humane immigration reform and a humane restorative justice system that reinvests in communities that have been historically neglected.
Jamal Bowman speaking last night, a black middle school principal from the Bronx who's taken a strong lead over 16-term Congressmember Eliot Engel, chair of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, in the Democratic primary for 16th Congressional District in Westchester County and the Bronx. To see our interview with Jamal Bowman, you can go to democracynow.org. This is Democracy Now! When we come back, a Palestinian man is gunned down by the Israeli...
What are your thoughts about Shoe and Armored Skeptic breakup? What? That happened? Well, fuck the news. You know what this calls for. Sorry. When did that happen? That's Well, maybe that's going to be a good thing for Shoe, I guess. Maybe now we can pull Shoe further to the left. Let's Overton window Shoe all the way, and then unless I don't know anything about Armored Skeptic. Last I saw, he was kind of a right wing reactionary atheist guy. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Either way, that's not what I guess I'm going to focus on until I know everything about this. So Greg is talking about it. Oh no, not Greg. Oh, so we're actually doing this. All right, fine. Let's just do the drama. That's what everyone wants, eh? I come onto YouTube and I'm like, well, I'm going to do the news show because YouTube's a professional platform. Unlike, Twitch, which only cares about drama. Shoe breaks up with our... There we go. That's professional. This is. Oh yeah. Let's put this in the. Here we go. Oh yeah. Are you just tuning in because you're about to watch a news program and we're gonna talk about the important things to the left because this is what matters. What do we got in the Jordan Peterson in a fedora peaking early in his career? All right, I guess I'll copy and paste this too. Can I borrow a feeling? Let me have your glove of love. I'm sorry. Please read. I spent a lot of time debating if I should write this, but some people have already made this their business, and I want to make sure you hear it from me. Not from an image board like usual. June, shoe on head, and I have ended our relationship. This was not an easy decision, and it did not happen overnight. The border lockdown was not the reason, though I can't deny it played a part. Oh, really? We were together for 5 years, and we were long distance the entire time. If you've ever seen our videos together, you would recognize that we were best friends and have amazing common chemistry together. Our relationship was almost surreal. It was so perfect. We obviously had ups and downs, but things eventually got harder, and we were not really good at hiding the difficult side of things. However, over time, the distance between us started to become too much of a burden. I was always stressed about traveling, and she was always stressed about not being able to make videos while she was in Canada. Oh yeah, you're the Canadian. Yikes. My face is blocked. Oh no. Blocked by what? Oh, blocked by my silliness. Yeah, hold on. Hi, Vicky Gronbach. Welcome. Thanks for subscribing. We got 13 subs today. It's been a wild day. Sorry, back to this. Also, I really fell in love with her family and her mom because, like a mom, I can't read this without wanting to make jokes. Like, every immature side of my brain is screaming right now to say the worst possible things over and over. I know all of us have filters. We filter everything we say, and like when you stream, if you're a streamer, you put on like an extra 20 of them. They're all breaking down. Like, I'm on the last one, and basically it's the last of the filters is holding on to all of this right now. That's all that's happening right now. We were already in a bad state before the border closed, so we've both been sitting in a pain for over 120 days, and it just became obvious that it was finally over. I want to make it clear that neither of us did anything wrong. Neither of us betrayed the other. We are not mad at each other or feel any kind of negativity. We simply at a point where we cannot carry each other anymore. We both were defeated. This is legitimately tragic because we know in a perfect world there was this invisible line between us. We could have made it work, and there was something amazing. This is why it's so hard to agree in the end. This is such a stupid reason to break up, but our batteries are both dead now, and we can't recharge each other anymore. I know I don't have to say this because our fans, followers, subs are amazing people, but please be respectful and show June lots of love and support. She's still the amazing person and everyone loves and needs you more than another. I'm so sorry, June. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry, family. We tried our best. Oof, wow, the drama. Input overload. Hey, OAT Poon 1312 with the 2 euros, and then with the other 2 euros. Thank you for both of these euros. Wow. You say fuck drama, Jordan Gamer, sorry, Garner, instead of talking about things that matter, like the news. But it seems like the drama's paying off. So I'm going to triple down on drama now. Now I'm going to give my unadulterated opinion on this matter. And then I'm going to go even further. I'm going to message June live on the air. And then I'm going to pull her into the stream. And then I'm going to talk to her about the drama. Because this is what's going to happen. And then you're going to see the metrics just skyrocket. And everyone's going to be like, what is going on here? I don't even know. You know? You just lack good taste. Hey, by the way, drama aside, you know what's funny? The other day, if you want some insight to this, here's some behind the scenes stuff. Vadim, aka Creationist Cat, messages me, and he's really intertwined with June and Armored for some reason. I guess they used to work together, or they've all been in each other's circles. They butt heads or something like that. And he's like, hey, did you see the transformation, or did you see like Armored Skeptics like skin pics or whatever? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is so far removed from my purview of things I care about. Or what, like, I wasn't even a big drama person in high school, and this platform pulls me into this shit, but I don't care. I genuinely don't. But I hope they find happiness. I hope they find happiness wherever they go. Oh, hey, I made a new intro, everybody. Check this one out. That's a good new intro, right? I especially like the hidden bits. You'll see on the right, there's terp motivation, terp elevation, terp champagne, cut a cane, terped up, you know, on the scene. There's also John Brown, beside a thing that says full release. So yeah. Hey, we're not going to make fun of Jordan Peterson. We're going to rip in to all of the ghouls. I've been putting off Ghoul Watch for too long. So let me play AOC for a couple seconds, and then guess what do we have on the Ghoulometer today? Oh man, there's so many ghouls. I'm going to be ripping into, live on stream, Caitlin Bennett, a Ben Shapiro, a Paul Joseph Watson, and you'll imagine some shock as that goes on. And then a brand new PragerU. That's right. That's all coming up right now, live on the stream, or the stream. The stream? Yeah, the stream. So yeah, called Tree of Logic and Destiny 2. Hey, Silicone, that would actually make for premium content. If I had Tree of Logic, Destiny, Shoe on Head, oh man, that would be the ultimate dumpster fire. But anyways, all right, let me grab a soda so my lips be parched, and then we'll start with the ghouls.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The Quarantine Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci told Congress Tuesday parts of the United States are facing a disturbing surge in coronavirus infections, warning the virus is not yet under control. Fauci was testifying to the House Energy and Commerce Committee.
Right now, the next couple of weeks are going to be critical in our ability to address those surgings that we're seeing in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, and in other states. They're not the only ones that are having a difficulty. Bottom line, Mr. Chairman, it's a mixed bag. Some good and some now we have a problem with.
Dr. Fauci's remarks came as the confirmed U.S. death toll from COVID-19 topped more than 121,000, though he acknowledged the official figure is likely a significant undercount. His testimony came as Trump contradicted claims by his press secretary that he was kidding when he said he'd urged White House officials to slow down coronavirus testing. This is Trump being questioned by CBS's Wei Jiazhang.
Mr. President, at that rally, when you said you asked your people to slow down testing, were you just kidding, or do you have a plan to slow down testing?
I don't kid. Let me just tell you. Let me make it clear.
In fact, the White House is set to end federal support for coronavirus testing at the end of the month. In Texas, lawmakers are warning of catastrophic, cascading consequences if Trump follows through on his plans, which would end diagnostic testing at 7 sites that screen hundreds of people a day. Global confirmed coronavirus cases have topped 9.2 million, with nearly 500,000 deaths from COVID-19. Latin America's regional death toll officially surpassed 100,000 Tuesday. In Brazil, a judge has ordered far-right President Jair Bolsonaro to wear a mask in public, or he'll face a fine of nearly $400 per violation. This comes as Bolsonaro continues to attend massive political rallies across Brazil, which recorded nearly 40,000 new cases Tuesday, the worst infection rate in the world. This comes as medical health officials announced a daily record of over 4,500 new coronavirus infections. That was in Mexico. The European Union is preparing to reopen its borders to travelers from dozens of countries, except for people traveling from the United States, who may be barred due to the country's high rates of infection. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia announced it'll bar travelers from abroad who are planning to attend the Hajj this year amidst the pandemic, marking the first time in modern history Muslims from around the world will not be allowed to make the annual pilgrimage to Mecca. Voters went to the polls Tuesday in New York, Kentucky, Virginia, and other states for primary elections marred by long lines and fears over the coronavirus. In Kentucky, officials slashed the number of polling places from 3,700 to just 170, a 95% reduction. In Louisville, which has Kentucky's largest African-American population, just one polling place was open, the Kentucky Exposition Center. At 6 p.m., the officials locked the building, even as up to 200 voters were stuck in traffic waiting to find parking spots. In a dramatic scene, scores of people banged on doors and windows demanding the right to vote. They were allowed inside just before 6:30 after a judge ordered a half-hour reprieve.
We need justice. We need peace. We all need to come together. We should love one another. We shouldn't go through all this. I got a daughter right here. She's 18 years old. 18. She's the first time voting. In the very first.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell easily won the Republican Party's nomination in Kentucky. His Democratic challenger will be either progressive state representative Charles Booker or former Marine fighter pilot Amy McGrath. McGrath has an 8-point lead over Booker, with about half of precincts reporting, though a large number of absentee ballots remain to be counted.
So much suppression.
And final results aren't expected until at least June 30th. Here in New York, former middle school principal Jamal Bowman has taken a large lead over the Democratic Party's nomination for the 16th congressional district in Westchester County in the Bronx over 16-term Congressmember Eliot Engel, the powerful chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Bowman's running on a Green New Deal Medicare for All platform recently joined protests demanding an end to racism and police brutality. In New York's 14th congressional district, Democratic socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fended off a challenge by former CNBC anchor Michelle Caruso Cabrera, winning the Democratic Party's nomination in a landslide. President Trump traveled to Arizona Tuesday, where he toured a section of newly built border wall, claiming the concrete and metal structure had, quote, stopped COVID, unquote. Trump's claim came as Arizona confirmed 3,600 new coronavirus infections on Tuesday, a daily record. Hospitalizations topped 2,000, also a record, with intensive care units now at 85% capacity in Arizona. Trump later held his second campaign event since the start of the pandemic, speaking to 3,000 students packed into a mega church in Phoenix. Few of the students wore masks. Many of them wore MAGA caps. None of them practiced social distancing, raising fears the Trump rally could be another coronavirus super spreader event.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, we have quite a few ghouls to get through today. It's going to be a ghouly Wednesday, I want to say. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, ghouly Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We're going to start with Caitlin Bennett today. Now, Caitlin Bennett hasn't really been seen a lot since the whole COVID-19 out in public, and that was kind of her shtick. She was kind of one of those on-the-scene ex-InfoWars reporters, although she's still appearing on InfoWars' actual website, band.video. So we're going to check out what she's been up to. Last time we saw, she was basically going to various areas that had been affected by the BLM protests, and doing what she always does, which is propagate lies, deceit, and shit herself. All live, in that order, of course.
It's time to cancel culture. You heard me right. It's time to end cancel culture once and for all.
First off, I'm hoping that Exhibit is going to sue her for the use of his X to the Z symbol, because that is not cool. No one should be using that except for Exhibit. Secondly, cancel culture, it's not a thing. There's no loss of income. There's no loss of platform to any of these individuals. It's not real.
If you are a Trump supporter, a conservative, a Christian, or just white, you are not allowed to have your own opinions anymore. And if you dare to have your own opinion, the mob will come after you, your family, and your employer. If you refuse to give into the mob mentality, you'll lose your job and have your career ruined. I want to give you guys some tips on how to protect yourself from cancel culture so you can do your part in standing up for what you believe in without having to feel like you might have your livelihood destroyed. So make sure you share this video and watch until the end, and make sure you sign up.
So that's a good preface, eh? I'm going to teach all you white people how to say and do whatever you want, and make sure no one stops you from saying and doing whatever you want.
Right now at libertyhangout.tv to watch the full uncut version of this video, where I go into more detail and tell you guys about some of the situations my friends have faced. It's not pretty, and I want to make sure you guys are protected from the dangers of cancel culture. And I want to be clear that these recommendations I'm about to give you are not just exclusive to conservatives. The mob will come for anybody if they so choose. The woman walking her dog in Central Park was a Democrat, and they didn't spare her. So please be sure to share this video with any.
Are you defending the woman who, while strangling her own dog, threatened to call the cops on an innocent black man who was walking by? That's where we're starting here. Wow, the bar is low. And that's what gives you support of a Democrat? Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, well, party lines don't exist anymore. No, she was willing to call the cops on a black guy. All right, so that to me, I mean, that's the badge of honor right there. You basically, you have my acceptance.
Anyone you care about to protect them from the mob. Okay, so here are my top 10 rules for surviving cancel culture.
Good.
Rule number 1 is to do a sweep through of your social media and remove any information you might have about where you work. Even if you do something as innocent as like a post, the mob will hold anything against you that they can find, and will stop at nothing to make sure that every right-winger is left unemployed. So do yourself a favor and remove all of your work information from any of your social media accounts, even if they're on private. All it takes is one person to screenshot where you work. You should especially do this if you're self-employed or you own your own business. You might think you're safe from the mob because you can't get
This is going to be a bit of a reach, but you got to admit, this whole thing seems like a bit of a setup. Say you and your friends want to go out one day and you want to make your political opinions known. Say you and your friends want to go out and you just want, it's kind of dark outside, so you want to buy some torches, some lamps, if you will, some tiki torches. You buy a couple of those, and then say there's maybe a Confederate statue and or some historical figure that is problematic to some, and it's being taken down. You might want to march and then get out there and just have your opinion be heard. Say you get there and then you realize that there are certain cabals and or people controlling everything, and then you want to replace the blood for soil and so forth. If you want to do all this, make sure that no one can find you on social media. So make sure no one can find your picture. Make sure people can't post that saying like, oh, I don't know. They'll use strange terms like fascist, Nazi, and then they'll post your picture all over the place. So Caitlin Bennett has you covered here.
Fired, but they might even do something worse. They'll literally set fire to your business. I hate that I even have to give you guys this advice, but it's not worth taking any chances. Rule number 2 is to take any identifying information off of your social media. This means taking off your birthday, taking off places you've checked into, but the most important thing to take off is the town in which you live. You should never voluntarily put this information out there on social media. You should do a thorough search through any of your old posts and delete anything that would identify you. If you have already taken this step and flushed your Facebook clean of the information, the next step is to tell your family members and friends to do the exact same. Rule number 3 is to make sure your Facebook account is completely private so that only your friends can see your posts. If the whole world can see your posts, you are way more likely to be canceled than only when your friends can see them. There's a really simple feature in the settings menu on Facebook that lets you limit the audience for past posts and make your whole profile private at once. And if you're
Okay, like, it's not bad advice, obviously. I mean, you know, there's an inordinate amount of information that these tech companies have about us. And I mean, if you want to forego that information, that's up to you. That's totally, I can't help but think, who are you appealing to? Given your track record, given your history. I mean, if Noam Chomsky came forward and was like, I'm going to need everyone here to ideally not give in to what we consider nothing short of systematic oppression given by the media, the 4 facets of which can be described unitarily as different comprehensive ideas. You would probably be like, okay, well, yeah, I understand. I'm going to listen to you, Mr. Chomsky. That makes sense. Caitlin Bennett, I mean, I think she's appealing pretty much to the white nationalist crowd, right? She's trying to help out the white nationalists, especially people who might be fired for, I don't know, misgendering people, you know, things like that, or saying the N-word at work and things like that. I mean, you don't want them to get caught.
on Twitter, it would probably be smart to make your account anonymous so that your name isn't attached to it. But if you do choose to do this, you need to make sure you don't slip up and accidentally post information that may reveal your identity. Rule number 4 is to always assume that everything you say online has the potential to get you canceled. Be smart about what you write and always ask yourself if it's worth putting on the internet before hitting the post button. And this brings me to rule number 5. If you're commenting on somebody else's post, always be aware of what kind of privacy settings they have on their post. If you're commenting on a page like Liberty Hangout, your comments will always be public. If it's on a friend's post, you'll have to see what they have it set to. As with every status you make, always assume that every comment...
Yep, and there you have it. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you people. You keep making all these comments on libertyhangout.tv and people keep using it, some kind of, I don't know, OPSEC, if you will, to find out who and where you are, and then they're getting you fired. Oh, but it's freedom of speech.
You make can get you canceled as well. Rule number 6 is going to be a very difficult one to follow, but if you are a parent of a young child, my advice is to refrain from posting any photos of them. The last thing you want is for the mob to start targeting your children or bullying them at school because the internet canceled you. Rule number 7 is that if the mob does start to come for you for whatever reason, do not engage with them. Do not give them any more fuel to use against you. Screenshot and save every nasty comment and message they send to you, but do not say anything back. Rule number 8 is to get law enforcement involved if you feel like your safety might be at risk. You can actually...
This is fun. It's like Fight Club, but for Nazis. So, you know, the first rule is you don't talk about Fight Club. Oh, thank you so much for the $5 dono, Demo202. $5 because your Chomsky impression made me laugh. Nice. Nice. Loudly, very loudly. Well, that's the kind you want. I'm guessing this goes on for a while because it just seems kind of one note. Let's just see if there's anything different.
Don't let ourselves needlessly become the next victim of cancel culture. It can happen to anyone, even your innocent grandma. So you need to be prepared and start taking precautions to make sure it doesn't happen to you. The sad thing is our country wasn't always like this. In fact, it wasn't even like this just a month ago. If you visit libertyhangout.tv, I will be going through some examples that have happened to some people I know personally, along with some other ridiculous situations. If you upset the mob for any reason, you will be fired from your job, no matter how silly the reason may be. Pleasing the mob has become easier than pleasing your employees because they are so afraid of the repercussions if they don't bow down to them. These are...
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, the world changed a month ago, and now everything's different. I think that's about all I can tolerate of what you see before you. I don't know if I can go right to Ben. Maybe. What do you think, everybody? PragerU, Ben Shapiro, or Paul Joseph Watson? They're all pretty bad. Those are three terrible choices. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know why I've led us down this pathway. I've led you astray, everybody. That's what's happening here. Anecdotes are all that matter. True. Paul Joseph Watson, PragerU, Ben. Well, that was Ugg Ben. I don't know if Ugg Ben counts. It's not the same. A palate cleanser. I don't know if any three of those are a palate cleanser. PragerU is going to be a palate cleanser. You know what? PragerU is probably a good idea. And this one's called The Ferguson Lie. So let's learn about the Ferguson Lie. Of course, I don't know how many of you have already, if you're alma mater, or if you've already graduated from PragerU, or if you are thinking of attending. If this is your first course, welcome. Welcome to PragerU. Abandon all brains, all ye who enter here, because so there will be no thoughts necessary. It's going to be pretty straightforward.
One of the most significant events of this century happened in the early afternoon of August 9, 2014. It took place in Ferguson, Missouri, a city on the outskirts of St. Louis. So embedded in the popular mind is this event that if you just say the name Ferguson, everyone knows what you're talking about: police brutality and racial injustice. President Barack Obama referred to it in a speech before the United Nations in September 2014. I know the world also took notice of the small American city of Ferguson, Missouri, where a young man was killed and a community was divided. So yes, we have our...
Are they not going to say Michael Brown? What's the over-under if we get through this entire 5 minutes and they don't mention Michael Brown? No. That's too much. That's beyond the pale. They will definitely bring up Michael Brown.
Our own racial and ethnic tensions. The president understated the case. The shooting in Ferguson led to nights of riots and gave fuel to a new social movement, Black Lives Matter. Given its historical importance, it would be useful then to make sure we have our facts straight. So, here's a quiz to test your knowledge.
Oh my.
First question, true or false? A young unarmed black man, Michael Brown, 19, was killed by a white police officer, Darren Wilson. The answer is true.
True.
True or false? Wilson stopped Brown for no good reason.
Wait. Ooh, this one's tough. I mean, the front loading alone. I don't know, Chad. What are we thinking here? I mean, my heart says yes, but the facts don't match the feelings.
False. Wilson, driving a police SUV, had just received a call on his radio that a local convenience store had been robbed. He saw two men walking in the middle of the nearby street who met the description of the store thieves. Wilson drove...
Black, walking while black, I think was the description. Yeah, we're looking for a black individual. If you see one, pull them over. See what comes from that.
Drove up to them. When he asked the two men to move to the sidewalk, one of the men, Michael Brown, refused. Officer Wilson then attempted to get out of his car, but Brown blocked the door, punching the officer through the open window. As Brown tried to grab Wilson's gun, a struggle ensued.
Is there no more questions? Was that it? Was that the true? Oh no, I'm guessing there'll be more as it goes on. I mean, I don't know about you. The idea of just being stopped and accused of a robbery on the street probably wouldn't be too pleasant. But yes, let's go on. Let's see where this goes.
Wilson managed to fire his gun, wounding Brown in the hand. True or false? Michael Brown's back was turned to Officer Wilson when he was shot and killed.
I know what I heard, but I'm gonna guess this one's false because, again, with the front loading. So let's see. James Woods. Wow. All this time, I thought you were a conservative asshole, but it seems that you are... Oh, sorry, wrong one. Liam James Woods. Hey, Lance, just thought I'd support a fellow lower mainland lefty. Glad to have a like-minded Canadian YouTuber, even if it's just for a day. Keep it up. Thank you, Liam James Woods. Wow, with a very generous $14 Canadian. $14 Canadian is it's our way of life over here, you see. But thank you. I really appreciate that. That's wonderful. And we're about to have a huge revelation. This one's going to be big. The Ferguson unrest, sometimes called the Ferguson uprising, Ferguson protests, or the Ferguson riots in Ferguson, Missouri, involved protests and riots beginning on August 10th, 2014, the day after the fatal shooting of Michael Brown by police officer Darren Wilson. The unrest sparked a vigorous debate in the United States about the relationship between law enforcement officers and African Americans, demilitarization of the police, and the use of law in Missouri and nationwide. Continued activism expanded the issue into to include modern-day debtor prisons, for-profit policing, and school segregation. As the details of the original shooting emerged, police established curfews and deployed riot squads to maintain order. Along with peaceful protests, there was a significant looting and violent unrest in the vicinity of the original shooting. But let's go directly to Michael Brown's murder. All right, we're going to Wikipedia Andy this for 2 seconds. I know it's kind of cheat sheeting because we've got the test in front of us, so we're going to take the test, but at the same time, we're going to learn along the way. So I'm hoping this will facilitate a little bit here. So let's go back to this. An 18-year-old black man named Michael Brown Jr. was fatally shot by 28-year-old white Ferguson officer named Darren Wilson in the city of Ferguson, Missouri, in the suburb of St. Louis. Brown was accompanied by his 22-year-old friend, Dorian Johnson. Wilson said that an altercation ensued when Brown attacked Wilson in his police vehicle for control of Wilson's gun until it was fired. Johnson claimed that Wilson initiated a confrontation by grabbing Brown by the neck through the car window, threatening him, and then shooting at him. At this point, both Wilson and Johnson state that Brown and Johnson fled, and Wilson pursuing Brown shortly thereafter. Wilson stated that Brown stopped and charged him after a short pursuit. Johnson contradicted this account, stating that Brown turned around with his hands raised after Wilson shot his back. According to Johnson, Wilson then shot Brown multiple times until Brown fell to the ground. In the entire altercation, Wilson fired a total... before we get there, let's take a second to debunk this a wee bit. So we've got two different he says going on here. So in one account, we have the police officer who's saying that when he asked him to pull over because he was being detained for robbery, in which we do not know yet if he is guilty of that robbery or not. But either way, walking while black, come over here to the car, I need to detain you or at least question you. At which point, Darren Wilson prevented the officer from leaving his vehicle, according to the police account. I don't know about you, and I've heard this tales, okay, of African Americans in the United States, how they're raised from the day they're born by their parents to be very, very cautious about interacting with the police. Even if that wasn't the case, I don't know a lot of people who, when having a conversation with another person, let alone a police officer, will walk up to the car of the vehicle and be like, "You are getting out." Especially if you are 18 years old. 18 years old, you're confronted by a police officer, you're being accused of robbery, and your first move, the power move, is going to be blocking the door and going, "You're not getting out of here." What makes a lot more sense to me, if I can Occam's razor this a little bit, is the story that perhaps there was a bit of police brutality involved. It was a little bit unjust in that he grabbed Michael Brown by the neck, at which point he shot him, according to the other testimony. Now, if you want to cut this in the middle, so let's say the truth lies somewhere in the center between the two, we've got two opposing testimonies. Even then, if Michael Brown, say, was like, "You stay in your car, sir," and didn't physically stop him from doing it, but we'll just say, we'll cut it in the middle, "You stay in your car, sir," and as a result, Darren pulled his gun out and just whipped it at his head. So that's basically, we'll cut it down the middle. Even then, I think most people would agree that's outrageous. And I'm just using raw science here. This is how these things break down. This is absolute methodical socioeconomic. It's definitely socioeconomic policy. But just the feels over the reels to separate this. Regardless of which testimony you want to believe, this whole thing still is a bit egregious. I do not think that an 18-year-old unarmed child essentially should be murdered for the crime of walking down the street while black. I mean, call me wild. Now, if you think I'm being reductive, if you think that this is an unfair characterization of what occurred that evening, well, what the fuck do you think we're watching? What do you think PragerU is? This is Lance pulling a PragerU. All right, I just PragerU'd you. Is that, can I verb PragerU? Yeah, I just PragerU'd you. Every single one of you.
False.
There's classes in school that teach kids how to talk to the police. In American schools? Because we don't have those in Canada, but wow, maybe we need them.
After being shot in the hand, Brown ran away from the police car. Wilson got out of the vehicle and pursued him. Brown then suddenly turned and charged Officer Wilson.
What? All right, hold on. Do I have battle music? How dare you? Get back here. Stop, or I'll shoot. He'll shoot me? I'm gonna turn around and charge right at you. Why is the right hand like this? Like, who charges like It's unreal. Well, hey, no, now it all makes sense. No, complete justified use of force. Yeah, unload your clip. All right, okay. The 18-year-old, by the way, he's looking pretty swole. He's definitely swolled up quite a bit in the last little interaction I had. But anyways, 18-year-old kid running from you, of course, running from you because you're threatening to kill him because he was stopped again for walking while black. And you're going to say stop or I'll shoot. What would your first reaction be? I think the natural thing that every single human being would do instantly. I mean, it's a guttural thing. It's almost visceral. You know, it's like, holy shit, I'm about to be shot. And then you go right in there. Like, go for the head. Go. haven't every single one seen Gangs of New York? This is straight out of the gate. Like, that's a kill. That's a kill. That's a kill. All right, well, I need to know more. I'm learning so much right now. This is amazing.
Whose testimony closely fits the forensic evidence described the scene. Brown ran towards the officer full charge. The officer fired several shots at him, and Mike Brown continuously came forward in the charging motion. And when he stopped, that's when the officer ceased fire. When he charged once. When he stopped. So that's when he stopped firing. Interesting. When he stopped. Could have been a handful of reasons. Again, I'm not a medical practitioner. I don't have a lot of experience in this arena. Could be because he was dead. That might have helped his stopping. For an example, I mean, let's go back to the Wikipedia Andy for a second and see how many bullets he unloaded into the 18-year-old Charger. In the entire altercation, Wilson fired a total of 12 bullets, including twice during the struggle in the car. So, yeah, there's that. And again, if you want to believe the police's story, here's how it went. He was driving down the street, heard there was a robbery, was told these two individuals matched the description, which, okay, I'm going to be generous here. Told one of them to come up to the window because he wanted to have a word with him, at which point Michael Brown Jr. held his hands on the door, not letting the police officer leave the car. Weird, but sure. At which point he grabbed the officer by the neck, and at that point the officer saw fit to shoot him twice. After shooting him twice, naturally Michael Brown fled, which again would be the natural reaction to being shot twice by a police officer. At which point he chased him, pointed the gun at him, and said, "Stop." Michael Brown spins around, enters the charging position, as we saw illustrated there, and then he just unloaded the clip. Like, at that point, it was just bum, 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 until he had fired a total of 12 bullets. Brown was struck 6 times, all in the front of his body. And then at which point, yeah, he stopped charging because, again, he was fucking dead. Once more, the officer returned fire with, I would say, 3 to 4 shots. And that's when Mike Brown finally collapsed. The Brown family's own medical expert, respected pathologist Dr. Michael Baden, also conceded this point. The wounds Brown suffered were consistent with Brown charging toward Wilson, not running away. True or false? Before Michael Brown was shot and killed, he raised his hands above his head and shouted, "Hands up, don't shoot."
Even if that's not true, which, I mean, I hadn't even heard that story. So if you want to start to, I don't know, paint this false narrative, whatever you want to have, even if this isn't true, okay? Did the 18-year-old Michael Brown deserve to die that day? And deserve to die pretty horrifically, by the way. This is 6 shots to the front of the body. Did he deserve that? That is what we should be asking. That should be the question here.
False. Federal investigators from the Department of Justice found no credible evidence that Brown ever raised his hands in a don't shoot gesture or in any way heeded the officer's commands for him to surrender. The federal report concluded that witnesses who originally stated Brown had his hands up in surrender recanted their original accounts, admitting that they did not witness the shooting or parts of it. Investigators also concluded Brown never uttered the now iconic phrase. Again from the report, the media has widely reported that there is witness testimony that Brown said, "Don't shoot," as he held his hands above his head. In fact, our investigation did not reveal any eyewitness who stated that Brown said, "Don't shoot." Where did this phrase come from then? The best guess is that it was made up by Brown's companion, Dorian Johnson, immediately after the shooting. Witnesses described him saying, "The police shot my friend and his hands were up." And like a game of telephone, the phrase spread quickly throughout the neighborhood, morphing into...
But wait, why are you dismissing his testimony? Do you understand that in a court of law, as we're bringing up all these documents, the testimony is still credible evidence? Like, that's part of what... And yeah, if one other party was like, yeah, beside me, he said that, and then it spread around, probably because that was the testimony of one of the key witnesses, the other person who was there, the non-cop.
Hands up, don't shoot. Picked up and amplified by the media, it then became an anthem for activists. True or false? A local grand jury investigation and a federal investigation both concluded that Officer Wilson was justified in his use of force.
I'm going to guess true. I mean, it's already, I'm kind of ruining the effect here because it's already turning green. But yeah, I'm based on what we've seen so far, Mr. PragerU, I'm going to guess true. And also, based on my aforementioned knowledge on the subject, actually, yes, that is what happened. Does that mean that this is right? Does that mean that, the situation is justified? Does it mean that police should be using excessive force when detaining children on the street for crimes they may or may not have committed? Is any of that justified? That should be the greater questions that we're asking.
True. The local grand jury and the federal investigation supervised by Attorney General Eric Holder reached the same conclusion. Officer Wilson did nothing wrong. There was no basis on which to prosecute him. Here's how Heather McDonald of the Manhattan Institute put it in her book, The War on Cops. It was not a question of evidence not supporting high-threshold civil rights charges. It was a question of evidence eviscerating virtually every aspect of the pro-Brown, anti-Wilson narrative. There's another way to put this. The statement that an innocent black man was killed by a racist cop in Ferguson, Missouri, is a lie. Those who say otherwise are either willfully deceiving you for their own purposes or are wholly ignorant of the facts. Now you know. Act accordingly. I'm Larry Elder.
Act accordingly? And what? What would you like us to do, Larry? Can you tell us? Again, 18 years old. And I don't want to, give in to the idea of just appealing to emotion, because I understand that's going to be not the way to go forward with this. The protests, whether it is the ones occurring right now after the death of George Floyd or the numerous ones that are occurring after this event, the start of the Black Lives Matter movement, they have been, because this was basically the cataclysm. It reached such a point that this was the spark that ignited these events. They did not happen in a vacuum. It didn't just occur spontaneously. It wasn't like right after the shooting of Michael Brown and after the acquittal of the officers that all of a sudden everyone was enraged and the fire and the fury came together and they were like, we have to leave and hit the streets immediately. It was generations and generations of systemic racism, oppression, police brutality, poverty, imprisonment, modern day slavery, Jim Crow before that, slavery before that. It reached a boiling point, and this was just one of the reactions to it, and nothing changes. Like that's the most messed up thing about all this is nothing changes. And it's, horrifying to think of and keep saying, especially for people who find it disgusting or deplorable or want things to change. Because at the end of the day, I think the median income of a black family in the United States is going to be $0 by 2054. So it's not as if things are ameliorating. And the reason I bring up income and the fact that the average black family will have $0 in assets by that point is because in the system we have, class economics, they're linked together, right? The ability to be a success in terms of your life, equality of outcome, if you will, equality of opportunity, more importantly, will have a lot to do on your existing assets. And that has everything to do with what schools you will go to, what families you'll be raised in, what conditions you'll be raised in, what advantages you'll have. That's pushing aside the intersectionality of race. So on top of that, you happen to be a black person in America and you're coming out of the side of the house, and every single person who sees you immediately sees the fact that you were black before anything else visually. And our society is structured in such a way that that is lesser than white skin. Like, that too is fucked. I don't know, PragerU. This one is particularly vilifying. It's basically all lives matter, the video.
As long as you have fear, you only get worse, you don't get better. And that's what the Democrats and the liberal, the media has. If they can intimidate you, then they can control you. If they can make you angry, then they can control you. All angry people are blind. They're asleep and don't know it. The eyes are open, they're moving about, but they're asleep.
I'm smoking mimosa Skittles, but I'm tasting some kind of guava tangy, sour banana tangy, guava dog, diesel, a whole lot of turf shit. It's not that turf shit. Turf motivation, turf elevation, champagne, cut a cane, turped up, on the scene, keeping it Krispy Kreme, Purple Hindu Kush from the Purple Hindu Valley, San Francisco, doing turps in the club, in and out and about, torch up. Yeah, hypey die movement. These kids go crazy for candy out here, I don't speak English, I speak Turpanese.
What's your name, bro?
Young Terps. It was a terpy day. Psychoactive, terp reactive. Bananji, December, lemon, tangy, guava town. Oh, terp wave. Back to the terp tropics. Oh, we got some right here. That terp shit, that trill shit. Glowy, glowy, flowy, lemon, tangy, glob down. That lemon, bananji, sour, tangy, guava dog, terp wave. But some people call it gelato OG. Glowies for Kobe. Glowies for Kobe. Take a dab, hot dab, cold plunge, 25 push-ups. Equals 1 glob, 3 times as high after 3 times as little terps. The terpenines and the tanzanites and the cannabis communities bring the community back together. 5-pound runs, 60 mils, a little bit medical and it just like Maui dog diesel. Terps is what it is. It's all town biz. It's like terp swaps. You know what it is.
What's a terp?
It's like the oldest language out here. Plants from communities that's terpenes, before the dinosaurs and shit. But everybody has their own temperature, everybody has their own flavor. Some people want some sativa, some people want some indica, some people want to get a little sour limonene, myrcene, kind of like mango citrus, so like, lift off. Some people want to like glop down a little myrcene OG. And I'm gonna flip it and dip it in terp wood grain, sip it at 2A1330, terp Jones about to blow.
Is anything not a terp?
No, anything can be a terp. Anything. Butane, it's all, a little terp skirt, terp this, terp that, sideways, terp all that, little, all elevation, it's all terp nation, it's all that terp rhyme, it's like, it's free your mind. From that English language, bring your own rhyme, get your own beat going, you got your own song flowing.
Sure.
You know how it is,
So what's your song?
It's terp hop.
Sorry, y'all. I needed that. That was a palate cleanse, and I don't know if I can sit through Paul Joseph Watson or Ben Shapiro right now. That I didn't think the PragerU was going to be quite that enraging, but it was. So, oh nice, there's a new Crucica. We'll watch that later. Who's responsible for climate change and who needs to fix it? Nice. Okay, we'll watch that one for Candy. Read Joey Vargas' statement. All right. That's it. Ba ba ba. Statement from Angry Joe. Yeah, this isn't new, Winston. He released this yesterday. Anyways, is there any changes to it? No. Yeah, no, I know. We saw this yesterday. It was basically just his rebuttal is that she was just cloud chasing. That's the whole reason that she was with me, and she I didn't want to have sex with her. I just knew that she was there for clout, and that's all there is to it. Yeah. Candy. Well, I need to make one more. I have to do one more piece of work. I just don't want to do it with Ben Shapiro or what do you think? I've got Project Veritas, a 5-minute video. Facebook insider claim system is biased. I have a new Sargon of Akkad called Do White Lives Matter Too, which I thought would be funny, but fuck, maybe that'll be maybe that'll enrage me more. Oh, I can watch this. All right. Hey, you know what I can't do on non-YouTube? Watch Nick Fuentes, because Nick Fuentes is banned for obvious reasons, you know? The Quarterine is not candy? No, we're not going to watch the Quarterine. God, no. Straw poll? Well, I mean, it seems right now that it's just Silicone and Winston, so maybe I should just let the two of you decide. Have any men come out with allegations? Yes, Wilco. There's also been, unfortunately... a number of trans women who have been accused of inappropriate behavior in relation to the entire Me Too thing going on with Twitch right now. So that's unfortunate. I happen to know one of them, not one of the accused, but one of the people in the periphery of that situation, as well as what's the other fucking thing? Oh yeah, there's also some revelations about other people that I've worked with at one point or another, and or have helped out, like our charity streams and stuff. I don't want to name their names, but a really prominent streamer has just been accused of well, prominent as in she does like late night streams for charity stuff and stuff like that, but she's been accused of abusive behavior as well. Let's watch some Poke covers. We will Silicone. I need to do a little bit of work because I need to make content for the YouTubes, and also entertain you by dancing like a clown. Okay, so why don't we do this? I will do. Yeah, I know Wilco. It's fucked. I'll do a straw poll. Final ghouls. Sorry, Silicone. Project Veritas interview on Facebook. Sargon of Akkad, White Lives Matter. Paul Joseph Watson or Ben Shapiro, because fuck happiness. Boom. Oh no, that's a straw poll. I would put on music, but I'm very scared what happens if I did. What did Bad Bunny do this time? I don't know. Wait, why were you mentioning Bad Bunny? What did Bad Bunny do? Manufacturing content. Yeah, it's true. I'll be sad if it's who I think it is. Oh, I should also have music. Hold on. Is there anything here that's appropriate? If you're listening to this right now, you have the ability to choose what happens next. It's a choose your own adventure. And of the 270 people still watching, please go vote. You'll find it in the chat. Go click on the chat and vote. And hopefully with the vote you can do things. Any good videos or articles breaking down the Twitch Me Too stuff? Not so far that I've seen, Black Academics. As of right now, I mean, it's very, very recent. It just happened a couple days ago. There's a very good Twitter thread on my... You'll find it on the Serfs Twitter that I posted that has all the accounts, basically all the testimonies, one after the other. So, oh no, it's not Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is not involved. Bad Bunny is actually a survivor. I think she just posted the other day that she's actually been sexually assaulted by 4 different men. So yeah, she's definitely not on the other end of the aisle when it comes to that. So much happiness, everybody.
Okay, here is the financial news. I'm not even, the king monkey.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we got votes. Sargon of Akkad, White Lives Matter in the lead at 28 votes, and then second place, we got Project Veritas interviewed on Facebook with 18 votes, but coming up on the back, so I would say if you are part of the Paul Joseph Watson or Ben Shapiro because of F happiness, you would probably want to vote in one of the other two categories. I'm not going to be doing a runoff poll, so we are going to close this one very, very shortly because there seems to be a decided lead for Sargon of Akkad right now. Did Shapiro cry about AOC's victory? Oh, not as much as Tim Pool. Did you see Tim Pool tweeting out that he predicted this long ago? He saw it coming. He had a prediction. And Silicone has presented us with... Oh, wait. It said something went wrong. Weird. Let me open this again. Silicone, can you post that one more time? My pop-out chat is kind of strange. Oh, wait. No, it's still working. Okay. Let me see if I can copy and paste this. So it looks like Sargon of Akkad's gonna win. So I'm gonna go from whatever Silicone Baby posted to Sargon of Akkad, and then to Candy, sweet delicious Candy. Wait, is this like copyright cleared? Because if it's not, Silicone, you know what happens. If it's not, it's gonna roast it. I already had for just playing that kind of funky song at the very intro of this that was copyright cleared. I already got a pop-up warning that my stream is in danger. From YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. Okay, yeah, this is awesome. I got the new Patriot Act queued up. I also have some more news though.
So faithless, lost under the surface. Don't know what you're expecting of
It even has the lyrics.
Put under the pressure.
R.I.P.
Walking in your shoes. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. Can't you see that you're smothering me?
Yeah, this is working for me too, Alana. Hey, I agree, Kylar. But hey, what's with the spicy takes? Linkin Park.
Every step that I take is another mistake to you.
I'm a 16-year-old fan from Pakistan. Awesome, Uzman. That's fucking wicked. Great to see you. I have not Space Jockey, but that's why I want to play as part of our candy. I just noticed that Germans, can you please help me out here? Kurzgesagt or Kurzgesagt. In a Nutshell has a new video on global warming, and I'm a huge fan of In a Nutshell, so I want to see it. So we'll watch that afterwards. And yes, the numbers, they be frightening, to say the least. YouTube doesn't let you play other YouTube videos. It's a no-no. What? Is that true? Is YouTube going to come down upon me? But then how does Vaush make all his dollars, all his doubloons? The man is loaded with doubloons now. Yeah, this is super banging. Ask Three Arrows about it. Ask him about what?
Lives.
All right, we're gonna get through this. Okay, we're gonna be quick. Then we're gonna go right to candy. Right after this. Candy. I promise, the sweetest of candy. Aww. It's gonna be sugary and amazing, and yeah, all that stuff. Ask your arrows about it. The song. Which song? about Linkin Park. I'm sorry I destroyed your channel. I don't think you destroyed the channel. I think we're fine. All right? We're going to do it anyway. And hey, I'm going to download it, so it'll be fine. We'll be good. Oh, speaking of fine, let's talk a little bit about Sargon of Akkad. You might know him as being the unconscionable British bloke who single-handedly destroyed UKIP. No, don't come after me for that one. But you might also know him more recently from the man who called me the F-slur in one of his live broadcasts. It doesn't exist on the internet anymore, but the internet never forgets. By the way, Sargon, Bubby, I would love to finally get you to accept that offer for a debate. I've been trying for so long. I try so hard. Sorry, we were listening to Linkin Park earlier. If there's any way we can facilitate this, please have your people reach out to my people, or I'm just going to continue to pester you on the internet, because I know you're not on social media officially, but your friends are, and so, let's follow through on this. Anyways, let's listen to Sargon of Akkad talking about how white lives matter.
Do white lives matter too? That's the question that has been raised by a banner, as you can see, flying above a football match yesterday that says White Lives Matter Burnley. This was a football match between Burnley and Manchester United, and the incident occurred...
What? Well, I mean, if nothing else, I got to learn something. I didn't know that occurred. That's weird.
Just minutes after both sets of players and match officials had taken a knee in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. So, it's being seen as some kind of contradiction. And I think that we need to talk about this, because I don't think that it is a contradiction, unless, of course...
Is he woke? Is he about to point out the right thing? Well, let us see. I mean, I'm not holding my breath. No, come on. Well, let's see.
Black Lives Matter is something that must never be challenged. When you say all lives matter, people usually respond with, yes, and that's why Black Lives Matter. As if Black Lives Matter is a subset of all lives matter. And I can agree with that. Personally, I can't stand racializing issues like this. If we're going to talk about the importance of a person's life, then why do we have to bring their race into it? I mean, their life is valuable no matter what the race is, right? Well, not necessarily, because if we say that Black Lives Matter is a property of all lives matter, a subset of it, then surely White Lives Matter must also be a subset of...
Of all the directions I thought he was going to go in this, I did not see this one. I didn't think we'd be talking about the copyright restrictions of the All Lives Matter movement and how there's going to be different, branches, if you will, tentacles to some. Strange, but go on, Sargon. Let's see.
Of All Lives Matter. It's a particular subcategory alongside Black Lives Matter and Brown Lives Matter and whatever other colour of race that we want to use for Lives Matter, because all lives matter. If you come from that framework, which, I mean, I would be an All Lives Matter person, but I wouldn't be a white or Black Lives Matter person. I think these are both poor formulations. But that still doesn't change the fact that if you are someone who looks through the world through a racial lens and you think Black Lives Matter, that's important, then what is the reason that you would say that that White Lives Matter isn't true? What was the reason that you would use? Because it seems to me that
they're running the show. That's the thing. They're in control. I don't have to go into the history of this because I don't think we have the time. It doesn't, the format of what we're doing right now between the two of us, Sargon, it doesn't really permit these kind of things. But yeah, white people are running the show. That would be it. That there's a huge amount of inequity. And there's a systemic racism that is pointing in one specific direction. And unfortunately, for those who are experiencing it, they don't feel that their lives matter. They feel that they are indiscriminately being killed by the police. So that's one of the reasons that they're speaking up about it. That's where it comes from.
Exactly the same formulation would apply to White Lives Matter as is formulated by Black Lives Matter.
Such a strange take. Oh, if I can... It's a matter of chemistry. No, don't you understand this? No, see, if I had a vial of All Lives Matter, and I take another vial here, and see this one here in front of me. Okay, now listen. This one has white lives matter. Why then should I need to have a different prescription for a different vial? Did you not understand this? All lives matter equally within the vials. It's alchemy.
And these are actually not in contradiction unless Black Lives Matter is not a subset of All Lives Matter. Unless Black Lives Matter is a negation of All Lives Matter. Say, no, not All Lives Matter, only Black Lives Matter. And that...
I don't genuinely know if he believes this. Like, I someone has to have explained this to him in the simplest possible terms. Or is it that much of an echo chamber? Does he live so much in a bubble that no one has explained to him in very, very simple terms why this is wrong? Like, why what you're doing? Like, even that old metaphor that everyone loves throwing around. If you had a whole bunch of houses on fire, and one house was on fire, and then the other house was on fire, and you were spraying one with water, and someone was like, well, why don't you spray all of them? And you'd be like, well, all houses matter. Like, it's something as basic and simple as that. Something that children can look upon and be like, oh, okay, I get that. I don't know what a metaphor is, but I understand that one.
That's the place where I think Black Lives Matter is actually coming from, and I'll show you about why I think that in this video. But anyway, of course, the usual hysteria about the phrase White Lives Matter filled the internet. We shouldn't ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it. Well, don't worry, they're not. I mean, they've already condemned it. They've already said, well, I mean, this is motivated by racism and a denial of equal rights. This is awful. This is something that Burnley Football Club is condemning. As if Burnley Football Club... What do you know about any of this stuff? The answer's nothing, isn't it? The answer's absolutely nothing. Nobody needs you to condemn anything, but you allowed yourselves to be politicized, and here's the backlash. Here are the underrepresented people saying, hey, we want representation, and we'll pay for it if required.
Who do you think are the unrepresented people? You're like, again, you're so close. The rich people, the rich white people who can afford to fly planes to spout their racism are not...
And apparently that is some kind of criminal act. For some reason, there's going to be a police investigation into this.
Oh, he broke
I would
me.
love to know what crime they've committed. Presumably, it's the crime of racism, right? They're going to claim that this is a racist crime in some way. But, again, if Black Lives Matter is a subset of All Lives Matter, then White Lives Matter must also be a subset. Otherwise, what logical framework are you using? Again, it seems to be a way of actually trying to deny equal rights, because there are victims, white victims, of brown and black people. And these people are routinely ignored and suppressed by the establishment as it is, by the media, by the police, by the politicians. It's very difficult to get them to actually do something about the
God damn, all that race crime against the whites. It's been it's been a rough go. It's been really hard for us white folk. You know, we've been so systematically oppressed. Let's just say culturally, as of very recently, and even then, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah,
victims of multiculturalism. But no one wants to talk about that, so let's carry on.
Okay, can we just get the facts over the fields here? In the United States, statistically, racial crimes fall within racial lines. Surprise, surprise, but there's mostly the majority of white people committing crimes against white people, black people committing crimes against black people. Now, I haven't seen the statistics. I'm going to pull them up in a second, but I'm going to surmise that it's the exact same thing within the United Kingdom. We will see, but I'm going to guess that. That seems to be the way these things go.
Anyway, the mad lad who arranged this White Lives Matter banner has refused to apologise. Well done. They're going to absolutely destroy this man.
OAT Poon1312, thank you for the £2 again. I.e. Veritas has overtaken the Sargon check poll. I know it's too late, though. The poll is closed. At this point, it's just for the people's pleasure. There, but for the grace of the poll goes ye.
Now, a guy called Jake Heppel. But well done, that man. Never bend the knee. Ever. It doesn't matter what they do to you. What matters is that they bend your will. And that's what bending the knee is. It's breaking your will to resist them. And if you refuse to bend the knee, then no matter what they do to you, they will still have not broken you. But anyway, Jake said on his Facebook page, I'd like to take this time to apologise to absolutely fucking nobody. It's apparently racist to say White Lives Matter the day after 3 white people got murdered in a park in Reading. But we've all seen this on TV as all we've seen on TV is Black Lives Matter after George Floyd got murdered. What a mad world we live in. Well, that's actually a really great point and really well made, because it does kind of appear that if a person of colour murders 3 white people in a park, everyone's like, oh, that's sad. But nothing further needs to be said. No more conversation, no more outrage. It doesn't matter how many terror attacks, it doesn't matter how much interracial violence, it doesn't matter.
And it's outrageous. And then before you'll see all these lefties, right? They sit there and they hear about these crimes against the whites, and they're erect. Every single one of them. Just raging erections. And I, for one, I'm utterly befuddled. I'm come on. Why? Let's look at the facts for 2 quick seconds. And again, I apologize for using the Wikipedia handy, but of course, Wikipedia handy is pretty quick for us to do in this kind of context, because right away, all the sources are going to be quickly linked at the sides. But for someone who doesn't know anything about the statistics in the United Kingdom when it comes to the racial divide between race and crime, now, would we assume perhaps that there's probably going to be some differences in poverty levels between black and white Britons? Probably, I would guess that, but let's find out. In June 2007, the Home Affairs Select Committee published a report on young black people in the criminal justice system of England and Wales. It is said that young black people were overrepresented at all stages of the criminal justice system. The Commission for Racial Equity and Youth Charities welcomed the report. Ministry of Justice figures regarding race and criminal justice systems in 2010 are shown in the table below. So population age 10 and over, white 88.6%, black 2.7%, Asian 5.6%, mixed 1.4%. Not stated or unknown. Wow, that's very, very high. Prison population, including foreign nationals, white 72%, black 13.7%, even though they only make up... Wow, okay. So it's pretty much the exact same as the United States. Police officers have the power to stop and search individuals under a range of legislation. Black people were the subject of 14.8% of all stop and searches compared to 7.6% of arrests and 6.7% of cautions. The disproportionate number of stop and searches is partly accounted to by the fact that 54% of the black population in England and Wales live in London, where the stop and searches are more common for all ethnicities. In 2008-2009, England and Wales, more black people were stopped and searched under Section 1 of the Police and Criminal Act per head of the population than any other ethnicity. Black people were 7 times more likely to be stopped and searched than white people. There is strong evidence that once stop and search, black people are no more likely than white people to be arrested, suggesting they are disproportionately targeted. Racist crimes. In 2005 to 2006, 1,543 victims of racist crimes in Scotland were of Pakistani origin, while more than 1,000 victims were classed as being white British. The British Crime Survey reveals that in 2004, 87,000 people from black or minority ethnic communities said they were the victim of racially motivated crime. You're so off base, Sargon, by such an astronomical amount. But the whites, won't someone please think of the white people? They had suffered 49,000 violent attacks, 4,000 of them being wounded. At the same time, 92,000 white people said they were also fallen victim to racially motivated crime. The number of violent attacks against whites reached 77,000, while the number of white people who reported being wounded was 5 times the number of black and minority ethnic victims at 20,000. Okay, well, there's this statistic that we can use to back up some of these things. However, again, 92,000 white people said they were the victims of racially motivated crime. 87,000 black or minority ethnic communities said they were the victim of racially motivated crime. Let's go back to the fact that we have, what were the statistics on population? White people make up 88.6% of population age 10 or over. Black people make up 2.7% of the population age 10 and over. Do I need to point this out to you, why there's something wrong when 87,000 black or minority ethnic communities said they were the victim of racially motivated crime, while 92,000 white people said they were the victim? I don't want to just I'm being pedantic as well as immature and childish for the simple reason that I really want to just hammer these points home, because when these ghouls love to talk about this kind of shit and bring it up as if this is this is just facts. You have to understand this, all right? The whites are getting way more crimes committed against them, way more racial crimes. They're getting all this violence. The white race is in danger right now of not only being replaced by Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern is coming over to Britain, and she's going to replace every white person. But there's also the added danger of the fact that they are the victims of all this racial crime. That's what this all comes down to.
About the casualties on the white side of the tally. It only matters on the casualties on the people of colour side of the tally, because that's the way these movements work. Now, this guy was apparently featured with Tommy Robinson on his page, so I mean, now you know that he's a racist. I'm just joking. I don't think Tommy Robinson is a racist. But this led to him having his Facebook page deactivated. Good news. But anyway, let's talk about the Reading stabbing attack, actually, because it turns out that 2 of the victims have been named so far, and they're both gay. I mean, they're both white, they're both gay, they both wanted equality, and presumably they would have been pro-diversity. And the reason that the diversity decided that today is a bad day and that this was acceptable, unironically, was apparently because the UK is a racist country, at least according to the attacker's brother, who says this. He says he's not a terrorist and was arrested because the UK is racist. Right. The guy who stabbed to death 3 people and injured a bunch more has been arrested because the UK is racist. Do we agree? Does anyone agree with that?
The statistics do. Do I still have it open? Just going to do some little things here. Just please bear with me for 2 seconds. This is for science, everyone, okay? So don't worry. This is going to be good. It's all for science. Okay, we got one piece of science here. Let's grab another one. Let's get another little science ready. Just gonna put a little science in the corner here. Oh yeah, that's some good science. Ooh, look at this. Beautiful science. Nice. And now, just so I don't lose everything, let's get Sargon back on the camera here. Oh, that sounds so much nicer than what we're watching. But yeah, let's get... And now I'm just going to hit play.
Anyone in the mainstream media agree with that? Do any of the politicians agree with that? Labour, do you agree with that? SNP, do you agree with that? Do you agree that the UK is racist and therefore it justifies people of colour just picking up knives and randomly stabbing white people? Does anyone think that's justified? I mean, let's fuck England. The man claiming to be terror attack suspect's brother. Really, fuck England. Surely that means also fuck the English. But I love this. He's defending himself from racism in the UK. Like what? I mean, defending himself from what? Gays? Is this a Muslim thing, where an Abrahamic religion thing, where they like to persecute gays? Is that what's happening here? And how far does this go? Because I get the feeling that it doesn't stop at anywhere reasonable, does it? I mean, it might even go as far as to like finding 19th century imagery, Christian imagery of St. Michael standing on the devil, defeating Satan, and say, wait a minute, that looks a...
By the way, I'm just showing the recent statistics, which are on their own horrifying. But let's just think for a second and just ignore the history of imperial colonialism under Britain and what they did across the entire globe, as if that doesn't have any kind of, I don't know, pertinence to this discussion, shall we say. Dwarfest, thank you very much for the, I don't know what a BYN is, but thank you very much. Trans rights, absolutely. Trans motherfucking rights.
A lot like what happened to George Floyd, hardy. What are you talking about? That the devil has wings and a serpent's body. Like, and he's grey. He's not even black, he's grey. Presumably because that looks more negative compared to the shining brightness of the Archangel Michael there. Like, this is a kind of symbol of St. George and the Dragon done by St. Michael and Satan. Like, this has nothing to do with black people, fundamentally, or white people. It's got nothing to do with people. It's angels and devils fighting, you lunatics. But no, take it down. That's what this is. Take it down. I mean, look at the way they frame this, right? The original image may have been Michael slaying Satan, but the figure has no horns or tail and is clearly a black man. What? He has a tail. You can see the tail at the back there. Okay, he doesn't have horns. Oh, sorry, this depiction of the devil isn't good enough. So if we draw horns on there, you can be like, okay, well, now he has horns in the tail, so now he doesn't look like George Floyd. Like, this is not what this is about, is it? This is such obvious nonsense that you just sit there and think, God, I can't wait until Piers Morgan joins in. Of course, Piers Morgan, the man who got humiliated by a literal communist on his show, has no idea about any of this. He doesn't understand how he is being subverted by communists. Neither does Suzanne Reid, I think her name is. And listening to them trying to explain why Black Lives Matter is noble and good and heroic, and White Lives Matter is evil and racist and bad, is just...
Oh, first off, yeah, Piers Morgan sucks. So that's the first thing I think I'll probably agree with Mr. Sargon, of course, this entire video. And the second thing, religious iconography, deeply marred and stirred in racist history. Absolutely. Beyond the fact that the Bible was used to justify a lot of slavery, there's, of course, the fact that the Bible has very clear instructions on how to suppress and subject different races of people. And I'm not even going back as far as saying, Canaanites and or Israelites, but the Bible is rife with this kind of stuff. On top of which, you can see why that would be problematic. And even if you can't see why that would be problematic, why are you bringing up these anecdotal stories? Like Anecdote Andy over here. Like Neckbeard Anecdote Andy. Like, well, here's an isolated story that is quite horrifying. I don't enjoy it. And it says drastically terrible things about white people. And I don't know. It's just not quite becoming, as some might say. Who gives a fuck? Let's talk about the current statistics. Let's like...
Genuinely amazing. Listen to this clip.
Interesting for anyone who's confused about why that banner causes offence. Because nobody is saying white lives don't matter, but it completely misses the point of the Black Lives Matter movement. So Kick It Out, which is English football's anti-racism charity, said that
Dwarfest with the other generous BYN5. Thank you very much. And Black Trans Right. Absolutely.
And the organiser's chair, Sanjay Bandari, explains it like this. The point of Black Lives Matter is not to diminish the importance of other people's lives. It is to highlight that black people are being denied certain human rights simply by virtue of the colour of their skin. It's about equality. We shall continue to support the Black Lives Matter movement and the fight for greater equality for all in football.
So I was just saying earlier, does he live so much in an echo chamber that he's never heard an explanation as to why all lives matter is offensive and why it's trying to reappropriate the Black Lives Matter movement? But he just did. So I'm very curious now to hear what exactly he has to say about that.
Why is it that it appears that that is actually the case? That it is actually a negation of the term White Lives Matter? Again, I wouldn't choose a racial formulation, but since you have and decided that this was the hill you were going to die on, even though the statistics in this country do not back up what has been said there at all, as the BBC said, white people are 25% more likely to die in police custody than black people in this country, then why is it being approached as if it is a negation of Black Lives Matter? And why is everyone on the Black Lives Matter side trying to negate the idea of White Lives Matter? Again,
that's what you're doing. You're doing it in the opposite direction. How are you so transparently clueless about this? What you're describing is the thing. You're describing the thing that you're doing right now.
Again, by the same logic, you have to accept White Lives Matter if you also accept that Black Lives Matter because all lives matter. If that's not the case, then all lives don't matter and only Black Lives Matter, which makes White Lives Matter a negation of Black Lives Matter and not just a parallel interest group.
Well, there you have it. The 5D chess has been accomplished, and now we're all better for it. So thank you, Sargon, for solving racism. I knew he had it in him, and eventually he would do it, and here we are. So, tip of the hat to you, sir. And thank you. All lives matter, everybody. All lives matter.
Since the
Industrial revolution, humans have released over 1.5 trillion tons of carbon dioxide or CO2 into the Earth's atmosphere. In the year 2019, we were still pumping out around 37 billion more. That's 50% more than the year 2000 and almost 3 times as much as 50 years ago. And it's not just CO2. We're also pumping out growing volumes of other greenhouse gases such as methane and nitrous oxide. Combining all of our greenhouse gases, we're emitting 51 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalents each year.
I didn't know it was pronounced methane.
And emissions keep rising. But they need to get down to zero. In recent years, the consequences have become more serious and visible. Almost every year breaks some horrible record. We've had more heat waves, the most glaciers melting, and the lowest amount of ice ever recorded at the North Pole. Of the last 22 years, 20 have been the hottest on record. The only way to limit this rapid climate change is to decrease our collective emissions quickly. But although all countries agree on this goal in principle, they do not agree who is responsible or who should bear the heaviest load. The developed countries point at their own efforts to reduce emissions and the fact that the large developing countries on the rise, especially China, are currently releasing much more CO2. On the other hand, developing countries argue that emissions by the West are lifestyle emissions, while for developing countries, they are survival emissions. Others call rich countries hypocrites that got rich by polluting.
Wait, that's our argument, that it's okay? They're like, oh, no, it's cool, it's cool. Ours are lifestyle choices. Yours are survival choices, so shame on you.
Without restraint, and now expect others not to.
It'll get more candy afterwards. I'm really curious to see what their take is going to be like on the solution, because I've always wanted to have that talking point when they talk about, the 100 companies that are responsible for 72% of all CO2 emissions. Like, I would like to be able to say, well, here's a very simple, easy to follow target.
To industrialize and stay poor. So, who is responsible for climate change and CO2 emissions? And regardless of the past, who needs to do the most today? In this video, we'll talk exclusively about nation-states. We'll look at the fossil fuel industry in another video. Question 1 of 3. Which countries emit the most carbon dioxide today? In 2017, humans emitted about 36 billion tons of CO2. More than 50% came from Asia. North America and Europe followed with 18% and 17%. While Africa, South America, and Oceania together only contributed 8%. China is by far the world's largest emitter, with 10 billion tons of CO2 every year, or 27% of global emissions.
Wow.
It's followed by the USA with 15% and the European Union with around 10%. Together, this is more than half of the world's CO2 emissions. So it's clear that without the willingness and action of these 3 industrial blocs, humanity will not be able to become carbon neutral and prevent severe climate change. Next on our list is India at 7%, Russia at 5%, Japan at 3%, and Iran, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and Canada all just short of 2%. Together with the first 3, the top 10 are responsible for 75% of global emissions. But if we only look at the current situation, we're not getting the full picture. Question 2 of 3. Which countries have emitted the most in total? If we look at emissions throughout history until today, the outlook changes drastically. The US and the EU both knock China off the top spot. The US is responsible for 25% of the world's historical emissions, emitting 400 billion tons, mostly in the 20th century. In second place is the EU at 22%. China comes in third at just under 13%, around half of the USA's contribution. India's contribution shrinks to 3%, along with the whole of Africa and South America. The UK is responsible for 1% of annual global emissions, but takes 5% of the historical responsibility. Germany, producing 2% of emissions per year today, has contributed almost 6%, as much as the whole of Africa and South America combined. So the narrative that rapid climate change is really the responsibility of the developing world is hard to defend if facts matter to you. But this is still not the whole story, because focusing on countries mixes two things: population numbers and total emissions. If a country has more people in general, its emissions are of course higher. Things look very different if we look at individuals like you, dear viewer. Question 3 of 3. Which countries emit the most carbon dioxide per person? The average human is responsible for around 5 tons of CO2 each year. But averages can be misleading. The countries with the largest CO2 emissions per person are some of the world's major oil and gas producers. In 2017, Qatar had the highest emissions at a hefty 49 tons per person, followed by Trinidad and Tobago, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Brunei, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia.
That all makes sense, I guess.
But those are outliers. Australians have one of the highest carbon footprints per person, 17 tons a year. That's more than triple the global average and slightly more than the average US, American and Canadian at 16 tons.
CNN, are you in Qatar?
The Germans do a little better at close to 10 tons, but this is still twice the global average. China may be the world's largest emitter, but it's also the world's most populous country with over 1.4 billion people, 18.5% of the world population. Per person, it's above average at 7 tons. Historically, CO2 emissions have been closely tied to a high standard of living. Wealth is one of the strongest indicators of our carbon footprint because as we move from poor to rich, we gain access to electricity, heating, air conditioning, lighting, modern cooking, cars or planes, smartphones, computers, and interact with people across the world online. The enormous